beautiful day and another great day of broadcast excellence, or at the very least, broadcast competence here on the Dan O'Donnell Show. Welcome to the Tuesday edition. If you'd like to join us, 414-799-1130 is our admitknows.com talk and text line. Reach us toll free, 1-800-838-9476. Email dod@iheartmedia.com. Find us streaming via the DanoCam at Dan O'Donnell Show on X, on Facebook, on Instagram, as well as on our YouTube channel. Just search for Dan O'Donnell or Dan O'Donnell Show. And please do subscribe to us on your iHeartRadio app or wherever you listen to podcasts. Josh Kaul is out of the race for governor. He announces on social media this morning. Does that mean our old friend Mandeadbeat, former lieutenant governor and failed U.S. Senate candidate Mandela Barnes, is in? We will find out very shortly as we discuss all that and more coming up on the Wisconsin political scene. We will also talk with Waukesha County Judge Anthony Lococo. He is running for Court of Appeals, and just by his presence in the race, a longtime lib, including a failed state Supreme Court candidate, announces she is heading for the exits. That's coming up. Plus the daily Trump date. It is a very somber anniversary, the second anniversary of the October 7th terror attacks in Israel. We will discuss that and much more throughout the show today, but we lead it off, as we has been for a week and a half now, with a chance to win $1,000 in the Fall Fortune Cash Contest. The word this hour, grand, G-R-A-N-D, grand. You've got until 55 past the hour to go to our website and enter the keyword grand to enter the contest for this hour. Yesterday, I reported exclusively in this very hour that former lieutenant governor and 2022 Democrat nominee for Senate Mandela Barnes was almost certainly going to jump in the gubernatorial race, regardless of whether Attorney General Josh Kaul got in or not. Barnes has been itching to run and was only bolstered by the release of a new Badger Battleground poll on Sunday, the very first poll of this election cycle for 2026, showing him with a commanding lead over the Democrat field, doubling up his next closest contenders. That would be Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez. Barnes got 16% in that poll, with 38% saying they're still undecided. Rodriguez got 8%, Kaul just 7%, putting him into a third place tie with Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley. As I was reporting that, I can tell you that Barnes was sort of finalizing plans to get into this race, because word was starting to circulate at the state capitol that Kaul was not going to get in, and would, as I reported and have been reporting pretty much consistently for the past 2 weeks, that he was going to run for a third term as Attorney General, which he announced this morning. In a post on Facebook, as well as in a thread on X, he says, "I'm running for re-election as Wisconsin Attorney General. This is a pivotal time for our nation. Some of our most basic rights are under threat. Severe cuts have been made to programs that provide opportunities and have helped communities move forward. It is critical that we continue to have an AG who will stand up for our freedoms and for the rule of law in Wisconsin. We've made meaningful progress, and we need to build on that progress. As my track record shows, I'm committed to working to protect public safety and to looking out for the interests of Wisconsinites." That sound you're hearing is me dry heaving in my mouth a little bit. The real reason that he is running for re-election as Attorney General is because, as an incumbent, he's not going to face any primary challenge. The Badger Battleground poll was almost certainly the final straw. As I reported exclusively about a week and a half ago, Kaul has spent the better part of the past month meeting with big money Democrat donors to try to determine whether he was actually actually going to be a viable candidate. The thinking was that if Kaul was able to generate a whole lot of interest among the donor class and thus get a whole lot of money behind him, he was going to enter the gubernatorial race where he would, at least in theory, be considered to be a prohibitive favorite. The dirty little secret in Democrat circles, though, is that Kaul is not popular at all. Not with the rank and file, not with the party establishment, and now, as we see, not with the donor class, which apparently did not get behind him and instead appears to be just kind of waiting to see who gets into this race and who emerges out of what's going to be considered now a massive wide open primary. Barnes was widely panned for his performance in 2022 after the field was cleared for him. There were two very viable candidates, including Alex Lasry, the son of the former Bucks owner and billionaire Democrat businessman Mark Lasry, as well as the then state treasurer and now Secretary of State. They were both told about a week and a half before the primary date in August of 22 to get out of the race so that Mandela would have a clear path to the nomination. 2022, remember, a lot of people thought was going to be a red wave year. Instead, it was not the exact opposite, but it was not nearly as good a year as Republicans had hoped nationally. And in Wisconsin, it was awful. Republicans thought they had a very good chance of unseating Tony Evers, who has steady popularity and job approval ratings, but let's face it, has never really been an inspiring figure and is perhaps best known for his response to the 2020 Kenosha riots, as well as just being genuinely and overall ineffective. He won by several points, and while it was a close race, it wasn't particularly much of a nail-biter. On the exact same ticket, however, Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson, who was by far the biggest target for Democrats in that 2022 cycle, was widely believed to be incredibly vulnerable. Instead, he won an incredibly close race against Mandela Barnes. The thinking amongst Democrats who were capable of doing some soul searching and reflection after that race was that Barnes was simply too far to the left and had too many personal problems, hence why we call him Mandeadbeat, because he refused to pay taxes on his condo, refused to pay for his parking tickets, had the state patrol shuttle him around the state to and fro like his own personal Uber service, and so forth. He just was not a particularly good candidate. And Johnson, in a year in which there was a ton of money spent against him, wound up winning. Barnes tells the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel's Molly Beck that he is absolutely going to get in this race, saying, "I'm strongly considering entering the race for governor. I've been blown away by the number of people across the state who have reached out and asked me to run, and I will have more to say very soon. I can report to you today that, as I reported yesterday, it wasn't going to matter whether or not Josh Kaul was going to get in. Mandeadbeat is in. He's running. He saw that Badger Battleground poll. He may not have the institutional support of the donors, which Kaul was looking for. So what Kaul wanted, knowing full well that as the state's top cop and just being generally not particularly well liked by rank and file voters, that he needed to get into this race with a massive war chest to just get on the air before anybody else was able to, and to bully other candidates out of the race, or in the alternative, to try to keep them from entering in the first place. And as I initially reported, the thinking from Mandeadbeat's camp was that if Kaul was in, he might consider taking a pass on running for governor this year, because all of that institutional big Democrat money was going to flow to Kaul. The thinking would be that the incumbent regime, the Tony Evers team, would throw its support and fundraising and all of that that behind Josh Kaul, that he'd be able to tap into the political people behind Evers to staff up for his campaign. After Mandeadbeat saw the poll on Sunday, he said, well, nuts to this. Why do I need to wait for Josh Kaul? Kaul is something of a paper tiger. I'm going to get in regardless. I am told that thinking in turn, and when Barnes was getting that word out that he was going to get in regardless of what Josh Kaul did, that was sort of the thing that finally said to Kaul, okay, with Mandela in this race, we're probably going to split that Madison institutional Dem vote. The crazy vote is probably going to go to Francesca Hong, the far left progressive socialists, or maybe a Kelda Roys or someone like that. A lot of the Milwaukee vote, the black vote, is probably going to go to David Crowley. That Kaul said he really doesn't have a lane. And it would be far from certain whether or not he would emerge from the primary. In fact, the poll would suggest that it's very unlikely that he would. In a crowded primary, the candidate who generates even a little bit of a lead is got to be considered a big favorite, because all of those other candidates are going to beat up on each other. And granted, it is incredibly early, and there's still 38% of the vote out there that isn't decided at all. But it's easy to see, now that I've sort of explained the state of play here, why Josh Kaul took a look at this and said, thanks, but no thanks, I'm out. As we ran down yesterday, the full Badger Battleground poll shows Barnes at 16%, Sarah Rodriguez, the current lieutenant governor, at 8%, Crowley at 7%, along with Kaul, then Francesca Hong, Kelda Roys at 4%, Missy Hughes, the former head of the WEDC, at 2%, Ben Wickler at 1%, poor Brett Hulsey, the former state legislator / crazy person. He announced a run last week. He doesn't even show up in this poll. Suffice it to say, Hulsey, who left office about a decade ago, has been forgotten by his party. He, remember, was the guy who showed up at the Republican state convention in 2014 and was going to hand out Klan hoods. I believe he showed up dressed as a Nazi. He might have to do some sort of crazy stunt like cartwheeling across the stage like he did during his run for governor 11 years ago in order to get noticed. He's not going anywhere in this race. I don't believe that Kelda Roys or Francesca Hong are. This is probably going to come down to Mandeadbeat Barnes versus David Crowley, where the institutional Madison Dem support. Now, you'll notice I'm saying institutional support and not voters. Democrat voters are remarkably good at doing exactly what they're told to do. I mean, on the national stage, how many straight times did Democrats quite literally rig their own presidential primary? 3 straight election cycles. In fact, don't believe me? 2024, Joe Biden wins easily, and then, oh, hey, wait, he's deciding after all of the votes are counted, after all of the primaries are done, he's not going to run again, and we're going to have a fair primary, we're going to have an open primary, we're going to have a quick primary, but we're going to be as transparent as possible. Oh, wait, no, never mind. We're just going to hand the thing to Kamala Harris once Democrats realized that Harris was the only person who would be able to access Biden's massive war chest. In 2020, remember all of the candidates getting out of the race right before Super Tuesday. As soon as Biden showed any sign of life winning that South Carolina primary, every candidate was forced to drop out. Pete Buttigieg was even rewarded with the Secretary of Transportation job for getting out. Amy Klobuchar was forced out. The only one who wasn't was Elizabeth Warren. Why? So she would dilute the vote that was going for Bernie Sanders. In 2016, the party rigged, and I mean absolutely rigged, the primary for Hillary Clinton and against Bernie Sanders because they didn't want a socialist representing them. Oh, how far we have come. wrong. And of course, as I outlined in 2022, Democrats also rigged their Senate primary, and the voters just sort of went along. I have not seen a single Dem voter. I've not heard from a single lib who's at all upset about the fact that their votes don't really matter in their own primaries, that the party bosses just sort of decide who they're allowed to vote for, and then they dutifully vote for them. So the institutional support, the Milwaukee Democrat support, is probably, in fact, almost certainly going to coalesce around David Crowley. And because Sarah Rodriguez had such an awful opening to her campaign, she could have potentially sealed the deal with the Madison crowd if she just showed up right out of the gate and wowed everybody. My deepest condolences, and I'm sorry, Sarah. You, I, and Tony Evers' team all know that they're all ticked at you because of the way that you proved me right, that Tony Evers really did delay his retirement announcement by a week, because I reported that he was going to announce his retirement on July 17th, and his team didn't want me to be right, so they moved it back to July 24th. Rodriguez, as I've explained time and time again, actually proved that I was correct, because she posted on YouTube, or her team posted on YouTube, her video announcing that she was going to run on July 17th, the day that Evers was originally going to announce his retirement. Almost certainly the idea was to post it on YouTube and then keep it private, but then make it public and then blast it out on social media the following day, July 18th. Instead, she was forced to do so a week later when people noticed, hey, wait, this video was created on July 17th, not July 24th, when Evers announced his retirement. Why would you have this video ready to go? It proved everything I was saying, that the Democrats really did, as I heard from sources very close to Governor Evers, they absolutely did move their retirement. They're just that petty, folks. It's not that I'm so important in state politics. It's that these people are so incredibly petty. So they were all ticked off at Sarah Rodriguez and her opening, her grand entrance into the campaign was an unmitigated disaster. She could have been the heir apparent, but instead she fell flat on her face. That opened the door for Mandela, and it seems as though he is going to run right through it. More on Wisconsin's politics and some big fundraising numbers should make Republicans smile. That coming up in 3 minutes.
We all know the importance of good daily habits, whether it's getting your steps in, stretching those limbs, or eating right. Doing it on the regular is key. That's why if you're dealing with everyday aches and pain, it's time to bring Relief Factor into your routine. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor uses a special formula of 4 natural ingredients. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. In fact, the longer you take it, the more effective it is. So call 1-800-4-RELIEF and try their 3-week quick start for only $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Simply call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Wherever you're having pain, don't let it keep you from living the life you want. Make Relief Factor part of your daily routine. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
I'm Thomas Rozecki at Central Office Systems. Implementing technology diligence saves businesses money, making technology profitable.
Chris Rozecki here. Seamlessly reliable technology is a competitive advantage for your business operations.
Flawlessly integrated IT, phone, email, software, data storage, data security backed by Central Office's North American Help Desk is smart business operations.
Central Office IT support answers your employees' calls in 1 minute. If your issue can't be resolved immediately by phone, Central Office dispatches live local technical experts.
Central Office IT Managed Services secure your information, technology, and data. Our camera systems clearly document faces, read license plates, send alerts when movement, heat, or smoke are viewed.
Central Office smart camera systems combined with individual entry access from HID card, key fob, or smartphones limited to certain days or time periods secure your property.
Your company can afford Fortune 500 class IT system service and support with Central Office.
Converting IT risk and liability into assets, centralofficesystems.com.
At
Advent nasal congestion and sinus infections can be solved with an in-office 20-minute procedure. Elsewhere, surgery.
Christmas shopping sneak up on you. It's Toyland time at Fleet Farm. We've stocked up on the hottest toys from brands like Lego, Barbie, Melissa and Doug, John Deere, and more. And get ready, our annual toy giveaway happens at 7 a.m. Saturday, October 11th, where the first 125 customers will get a free Toyland toy. Check out our selection of all things under the tree at the best prices guaranteed at Fleet Farm. And don't forget to build the kids' wish list from our Toyland catalog at fleetfarm.com.
Make News Talk 1130 WISN your number one preset on our free iHeartRadio app, powered by Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
Injured?
One call, that's all.
All right, why is Mandela Barnes almost certain to jump into this race now that Josh Kaul has announced that he's not in? Because Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez, who you might think would have the inside track to clearing the field for Democrats, Lieutenant Governor, even though one hasn't been elected directly, getting that bump up from Lieutenant Governor to governor since, I believe, Patrick Lucy in 1976, I want to say, was the last lieutenant governor of Wisconsin elected governor. She would be considered a favorite. It's usually seen as sort of the stepping stone to greater things, almost like Wisconsin's vice presidency. She fumbled so hard that after that, and people are still like, well, Dan, why do you keep talking about the fact that Governor Evers moved his retirement announcement because of your reporting? Because it caused such a massive rift within the Evers administration. There were already strained relations between the Evers people and the Rodriguez people. And just a couple of days after Evers announced that he wasn't going to try to seek a third term, which, by the way, Josh Kaul did announce this morning on social media that he's going to try to seek a third term as Attorney General, and he's not going to run for governor, as a lot of people, myself included, believed he was very inclined to do. Rodriguez was persona non grata after she inadvertently proved that I was correct when she posted a YouTube video, her big slickly produced I'm running video, on July 17th, the day that I had reported exclusively that Evers was going to announce his retirement. I said within 24 to 36 hours, multiple sources at the Capitol are telling me that Evers is going to announce he's not seeking a third term. After 36 hours had passed, Evers' chief communications specialist, his chief spokesperson, posted on her social media account, looks like Dan O'Donnell's sources are full of bleep. 36 hours have passed. Ha, 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 ha. So she was gloating about that. If she didn't do that, I wouldn't have thought anything of it. Oh, okay, well, I guess, my sources were wrong. I know Evers isn't seeking a third term, but their timeline was wrong. Lo and behold, the following week, July 24th, Evers announces in a video posted to social media, he's not running for re-election. Okay, fine. The following day, Sarah Rodriguez, clearly trying to get a jump on every other candidate, puts out her own video saying, okay, I'm running for governor. The only problem, the video was created. You could see it in the YouTube, format where they say, okay, comments, all of this, date created July 17th. Seems odd that Evers just announced on July 24th, but she was all ready to go with a video saying she's running for governor on July 17th, even though Evers didn't announce until a week later. Well, it was obvious, and multiple sources within the Capitol were telling me, yes, Dan, they actually did just push everything back by a week because they didn't want you breaking the news that Governor Evers was going to retire. Well, when I was able to, and multiple people who noticed, hey, Sarah Rodriguez's video was dated July 17th. So what happened was they put it to private, meaning nobody could see it. It was there on YouTube. It was uploaded, but nobody could see it until they made it public. They made it public on July 25th when she formally announced, she posted the video across social media, okay, I'm running for governor. That proved that I was correct, that the Evers team was lying about my sources being wrong, and they really did move back a gubernatorial retirement because of some radio host reporting that it was going to happen on July 17th. And I actually said, even though I said 24, 36 hours, I said, they're not going to do it on a Friday, folks. They're going to do it on Thursday. It's almost certainly going to happen Thursday, July 17th. Instead, it happened Thursday, July 24th. A couple of days after this whole imbroglio, Evers is asked, are you going to make an endorsement in this race? You're not running. Would you endorse a potential successor? There was only one candidate formally running in this race, you'll recall. He said, well, probably not, unless someone gets in that I actually want to win.
The lieutenant governor over the weekend told us she would welcome your endorsement. I'm curious, are you going to endorse in the Democratic primary now?
Probably not. I tend to try to avoid that. So, no, I'll never say never, but I want to make sure who the rest of the candidates are before I even make that decision. That's the important thing. I tend to not get involved with primaries in general, and so that's probably where I hope to be again. But but then in turn, if there's somebody that really needs support and I want them to win, I might get in.
So let's see. I think people are sleeping on just how much of an insult that was to Sarah Rodriguez. Are you going to endorse? Sarah Rodriguez just said over the weekend, Mr. Governor, that she would welcome your endorsement. Are you going to endorse? Nah, I don't think so. Unless, of course, there's somebody who gets in who I actually want to win. You know, someone who's not Sarah Rodriguez. Now, what I can tell you is that Tony Evers genuinely does like Mandela Barnes. Remember, it's not like, for those unfamiliar with Wisconsin politics, it's not like you pick your own running mate in the gubernatorial election. There is a primary for lieutenant governor, and then whoever wins that primary is added to the ticket. It's a little unique in state politics. So you will run as the Evers-Barnes ticket, but Barnes was not selected by Evers. Barnes had to win the primary, but then he doesn't run for lieutenant governor. Lieutenant governor is not a statewide elected position. It's part of the gubernatorial ticket. With Sarah Rodriguez being thoroughly unable to get the Madison institutional support, i.e. the governor's endorsement, i.e. access to the governor's donors, kind words from the governor to said donors, or anyone who would be willing to work on Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez's election campaign, Mandela Barnes is looking at that and saying, okay, well, all of that support, the endorsement has to go somewhere. The money has to go somewhere. The support has to go somewhere. It's either going to go to Josh Kaul or me. Nobody thinks Francesca Hong is going to win the governor's race. Nobody thinks it's going to be Brett Hulsey or that random American Family Field beer vendor. Seriously, look it up. There's a random beer vendor running for governor, and frankly, I would probably vote for him over anyone else in this Democrat clown car. But Barnes was thinking, hey, maybe the institutional support is going to go to Josh Kaul. Attorneys general are typically, as former Governor Scott Walker said yesterday on this program, they're typically very strong candidates for governor because they've got very high name recognition. And let's face it, Mandela Barnes hasn't held office since 2022. So the thinking would be, okay, well, maybe people had forgotten about him. But then this poll comes out and says not only is Mandela Barnes a very strong contender, he's got twice as much support as any other candidate, including Josh Kaul. Kaul looks at this and says, okay, I'm out. I'm going to stay here at the friendly confines of the state justice department if I can win re-election. And folks, I don't want to spoil the surprise, but I would be shocked if Eric Toney does not run again for attorney general as a Republican. He is incredibly well liked amongst both donors, rank and file voters, the party apparatus, pretty much every elected official. He's just a very well liked guy. And he ran an incredible campaign 4 years ago. He just, ran into a very tough electorate. He's going to almost certainly run, and I can't think of anybody else who would potentially run against him. So Kaul is looking at this and saying, hey, wait a sec, I might not even get out of a primary, and there's no guarantee I would beat Tom Tiffany or potentially Josh Schoeman. I would consider Schoeman to have to pull off a major upset at this point because we've got a second straight poll now, this Badger Battleground poll, following that poll in midsummer showing Tiffany with just a commanding lead on the Republican side. To Kaul, it was sort of a no-brainer. And now to Mandela, it's also a no-brainer. With all of the support from this poll, he can go to donors and say, look, I've got all of this baked in support. I'm twice as popular as any other Democrat. Give me the money. Give me your support. And let's try to win this thing. Meanwhile, Republicans with another election cycle running against Mandeadbeat. Well, I can't speak for everybody, but I can tell you, me personally, I can't wait. We'll get to the fundraising numbers that are great news for Republicans next.
Bob from Redefined Realty here. I'd written my own ads for 20 years.
Creative genius. Here. Same. Well, Inet's ads and 100 other businesses' ads.
Writing your own ads, you kind of get stuck repeating the same message. Different words, but the same perspective.
Before introducing Easy Home Bidder, Bob came to Inet to brand his brainchild, MLS Listing Backed by Auction. It's brilliant. MLS guarantees the home is found. Auction guarantees the highest sale price. Period.
Inet branded it, wrote our story, knocked our marketing out of the park. When you think of selling your home, you know MLS and auction together is the right choice.
Redefined also benefits from unparalleled radio buying power, industry influence, and extracurricular enhancement of being part of the Inet community. More than 1,000 businesses working together for each other's successes.
Websites, branding, design, video, and radio. Inet is improving the economy one business at a time.
InetDishWeb.com.
CreativeGeniusMarketing.com.
Buyers, sellers, real estate for winners. RedefinedRealty.com.
I'm Josh Parks, owner of Infinity Exteriors. 9 out of 10. Brand new roofs can't pass a simple manufacturer warranty inspection. Every Infinity roof does.
MJ, Josh's partner here, protecting homeowners for decades to come, always installing roofs, siding, and windows to better than manufacturer warranty specifications is how we built Infinity to the most successful exterior remodeling company in the Midwest.
It's your home, it's your roof. With Infinity, it's all about you.
Infinity passes on buying power no other roofer has, saving you money.
Infinity provides absolute transparency in pricing with our proprietary app, showing exactly what Infinity is going to do and exactly what everything will cost line by line, real time.
No waiting 3 days to a week for a quote.
If you like what you see,
and you will,
Infinity can schedule your new roof, siding, or windows, including financing, right there in your home. No hassle, no waiting.
Warranted, guaranteed quality. Installing peace of mind. InfinityRoofing.com.
That's InfinityRoofing.com.
You've held on to that old jewelry for years. Maybe it was a class ring, a broken chain, or a silver flatware from your parents' home. It meant something once, and it still does. But now it could mean something new. A chance to turn those tucked away treasures into real value at Robert Hack Diamonds. With gold at an all-time high, there's never been a better time to bring in your unwanted gold, silver, or diamonds. At Robert Hack Diamonds, you'll sit down one-on-one in a relaxed, respectful setting. They'll walk you through your items carefully, from coins and jewelry to sterling tea sets and even dental gold, and make you a fair, honest cash offer. No pressure, just real people who understand that sometimes it's more than metal, it's memories. If in doubt, bring it in. You might be surprised at what it's worth. 64-plus year tradition of treating every single client with dignity, fairness, and professionalism. It's not just about gold gold. It's about trust. Robert Hack Diamonds, 146th and Greenfield Avenue in Brookfield and 76th and Layton in Greenfield.
The Census Bureau says more than 12,000 Americans turn 65 each day. It's a surge they call Peak 65, the highest number in history. Some Annex clients retire early. Some keep working because they love it. You know why? Because they've got custom plans built by fee-only fiduciary. They identified their wants and needs, and we went to work. We want to do the same for you. Annex does financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Visit annexwealth.com and click the Get Started button.
We're the Libby family.
At Do-It-Yourself Bathroom Center near State Fair on 62nd and Greenfield.
Bathrooms and kitchens are our specialty.
We use real wood cabinets and quartz tops to make beautiful rooms you will love for many, many years.
And our experts really know their stuff.
Remember our slogan,
I did it myself at Do-It-Yourself.
It's 5 words no one wants to hear. You need a new roof. Oh boy, who do you call? How are you going to pay for it? Hi, it's Jay, and these are all questions that run through people's minds when they hear those 5 words. But if you pick up the phone and call Semperfi Roofing, your new roof will be the easiest, most hassle-free home improvement project you'll do. Semperfi has thousands of 5-star ratings for both customer service and high-quality installation. Plus, they offer a 50-year leak-free guarantee on every roof they install. 50 years. Also, since no one wants to pay these high interest rates, for a limited time, Semperfi is offering 5-year no-interest financing with minimum monthly payments for qualified buyers. So if you need a new roof, don't stress. Semperfi Roofing has got your back. It all starts with a free 21-point roof inspection to assess the exact condition of your roof and what needs to be done next. Set up your inspection today. 262-600-2910. That's 600-2910. Or go online to semperfiroofing.com.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry. Semperfi.
On the new season of the podcast Heavyweight,
I pointed the gun at him and said, "This isn't a joke."
A man who robbed a bank when he was 14 years old, and a centenarian rediscovers a love lost 80 years ago.
How can a 101-year-old woman fall in love again?
Listen to Heavyweight on America's #1 podcast network, iHeart. Follow Heavyweight and start listening on the free iHeartRadio app today.
Injured? Call Gruber Law. One call, that's all.
There used to be a day when the national news media prided itself on getting the story right. Those days are gone. Now it's slanted stories, unnamed sources, and fake news. The goal no longer is to inform you. The goal is to indoctrinate you. Here at News Talk 1130 WISN, our show hosts will give you straightforward information and honest analysis. That is our commitment, and that is our daily mission. News Talk 1130 WISN. Real life, real news, real good. Opinion, emotion, passion. This is News Talk 1130 WISN.
It is the Dan O'Donnell Show. Some fantastic news for Republicans in the fundraising game. Ahead of the 2026 gubernatorial race, Congressman Tom Tiffany announced his campaign has raised $1 million less than 2 weeks after he officially launched his campaign on this radio show, by the way. State Representative Francesca Hong, a Democrat, says she has raised more than $115,000. Democrat Missy Hughes launched her campaign last week, raised more than $207,000 in less than 24 hours of the launch. I wonder how much of that money came from Missy Hughes. Tiffany had a knock on him that he was not a particularly prolific fundraiser. In fact, the two knocks on Tiffany that I have heard in Republican circles are that he's not especially a great fundraiser, and he was expected to get in this race with something that would absolutely clear the field. In fact, the one thing in Republican politics that would all but clear the field. You know what that is, right? The Trump endorsement. He didn't get it. Why didn't he get it? I'm told the Trump team is very concerned, just as they didn't want to give up a seat in New York, and they actually pulled Elise Stefanik's nomination to be UN ambassador and told her, look, you're going to have to go back and win your seat in the House because we think 2026 is going to be difficult, and there's a razor thin margin in the House. Now, the North Woods, the congressional district Tiffany represents, is, I'm not going to say a totally safe district for Republicans, but it's not one that anyone should be particularly concerned about. He, of course, is giving that seat up in order to run for governor. It's not one that would be as tight as Stefanik's would be without an incumbent Republican with all the money that they've raised, all the name recognition that they have, all the institutional advantages that an incumbent candidate has. But that, I'm told, is the big reason that Trump has not yet endorsed Tiffany and didn't initially endorse Tiffany, even though I am told that Tiffany did actively seek the Trump endorsement. Why wouldn't you? I mean, you go in with the Trump endorsement and your opponents in a primary basically have no choice. Remember back in 2022, when President Trump was not nearly as popular as he is now, the thing that pushed Tim Michels over the top was the fact that President Trump endorsed him and not his opponent, who had been running for several months and was considered to be the heir apparent, Rebecca Clayfish. Tiffany raising $1 million, I think, in the first couple hours of his candidacy helps put to bed this narrative, oh, he can't raise money, he's never been a great fundraiser, and the big disadvantage that Republicans have had in the last several gubernatorial races and state Supreme Court races especially is that they just don't get the financial support, especially from out of state, that Democrats do. The other named candidate in the Republican field, Josh Schoeman, the Washington County executive, reported back in July that its campaign had raised more than $420,000 in the first 2 months and ended the first half of the year with nearly $340,000 in cash on hand. These numbers were from a couple of months ago. The next financial reporting period is not going to be until January, so we are going to see the rest of the candidates in the next couple of days. Typically what happens is a candidate will brag, hey, Tom Tiffany raises $1 million in the first 24 hours. This is something that they do to try to show how popular they are. Francesca Huang, for example, in her press release said she raised more than $115,000 in the first 36 hours of launching her bid last month. Her campaign stated it is, quote, fueled by grassroots donations with contributions from most counties across the state, including 89% of online donations coming under $100. That shows, okay, I've got the support of the common man. I'm not getting just massive donations. I'm not self-funding. I'm not getting that sweet, sweet George Soros money. I'm so popular that just rank and file Democrats so badly want me to be their governor that they're giving me $75 donations, even though they're on a fixed income or something like that. It's used, that the fundraising numbers are used to sort of show how popular a candidate is. And this fundraising news cycle was clearly won, if not dominated, by Tom Tiffany. Conversely, being in the race for several months like Schoeman was and having just $340,000 in cash on hand, even though he hasn't made very big ad buys, I have yet to see or hear a Josh Schoeman for governor ad. Now, that's not to say that it's not part of the strategy, that they're not going to be up on television or radio yet. It would seem to me that after Tiffany got in, after this Badger Battleground poll, this would be the thing you'd want to to do, which suggests to me and other people who follow this stuff very closely that they simply don't have the money to be able to get up and get their message out to a broader audience just yet. All right, we are going to step aside from the politics and get to the ridiculous. The unhinged liberal of the day is coming up next right here on the Dan O'Donnell Show.
From the Lynch Chevrolet of Kenosha Total Traffic Center.
Cruising Waukesha with an accident on Moreland Boulevard east of Highway F. Still got a crash blocking the left lane, 94 westbound after Sunny Slope. It's been moved to the left shoulder, but heavy delays still remain from 84th. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest Total Traffic.
This report is sponsored by Rapid Radios.
Stay connected and stay productive with Rapid Radios. Business owners trust Rapid Radios for instant, reliable team communication with nationwide LTE coverage, push-to-talk convenience, and room for up to 200 units on one feed. Keeping connected's never been easier.
Order now at rapidradios.com.
Dan O'Donnell here for Mander Collision and Glass, which really is your best decision after a collision. I've been trusting my vehicles with Mander for years, and I've referred dozens of family members and friends there. All of them say the exact same thing as Mander customer Adam, who left this 5-star review. Your car will be in great hands here. Brian and Crystal took amazing care of my BMW M4. I had dents and scratches from a tree branch falling on my car, and they made sure that the car was taken care of. Everyone at Mander was professional and timely. I hope I don't need their services anytime soon, but if I do, I'll be back. Mander has locations across the greater Milwaukee and Waukesha area, so getting to one is easy and convenient. And starting your repair is just as easy and even more convenient. All you need to do is head online to mandercollision.com.
When starting a new home project, the first step is the hardest to take. Hi, Colleen here with Tri-County Contracting. And with Tri-County Contracting, the first step is super easy. Go to tricountycontractingwi.com. You can fill out a short form requesting a free estimate. Amanda will give you a call and schedule a no-pressure appointment with you. Whether it's roofing, siding, windows, or all of the above, we have you covered. If you are looking for an even faster roof price, we also have our instant roof quote button. Name, address, and email address, and you have your price on the spot. Easy first step. Then, all the steps after that, we'll take care of those for you. Getting you an easy-to-read, clear proposal quickly comes next. Then we can help you pick colors using our showroom or project map on our website. We pull the permits, we take care of materials and disposal. Our trained and specialized crews and project managers take care of all the install and cleanup. For you, it's as easy as one step, and that step is easy. Worry-free roofing, siding, and windows. Tri-County Contracting.
Neglecting concrete or asphalt problems is like neglecting a cavity. It isn't going to fix itself, and the longer you leave it, the worse it is going to get. And the more it's going to cost to fix.
MudTech's here to save the day. 262-337-0934.
Eliminate unsightly, even dangerous concrete and asphalt problems while increasing your business's curb appeal. Safer, user-friendly concrete and asphalt costs less than you think. MudTech!
262-337-0934.
Better curb appeal brings more tenants, more customers, and happier neighbors.
MudTech! 262-337-0934.
Seal Coat makes old gray asphalt new again. Cracks and plow-bending potholes disappear. Trip hazards are quickly and inexpensively raised or replaced back to grade with MudTech. Having Wisconsin's premier pavement technicians repair the damage from washed-out concrete and asphalt will double the life of your pavement.
MudTech. 262-337-0934.
MudTech resolves every concrete or asphalt problem, leaving your pavement smooth, your life worry-free, and enough money in your bank to take the kind of trip you want to take. MudTechWorks.com.
You're just a click away from listening to News Talk 1130 WISN in glorious digital clarity via the iHeart app. Click, enjoy, repeat.
I'm Dan Voss from Cut and Go. Ugly and depressing and trees killed off by emerald ash, oak wilt, and Dutch elm disease are dangerous for friends and loved ones, even a potential liability. Slowly rotting, left-standing hardwood trees can weigh tens of thousands of pounds. Even seemingly smaller branches can weigh tens, even hundreds of pounds. With Cut and Go, there is no reason to risk injury or property damage. Live trees in precarious placement for an arborist to remove over homes, garages, commercial buildings, luxury landscapes are easily and safely laid on the ground by Cut and Go's NCCER crane-operated certified remote control automobile mounted articulating crane grapple saw operators. You can save big money and stock up on firewood by having Cut and Go put your trees on the ground for you to clean up or have a bonfire or split firewood. Or we can take it all with us when we leave. A Tons of Trees movement. Cut and Go trees.com. That's CUTNGO trees.com. Once again, that's cutandgotrees.com.
WISN. Big taxers, big spenders, political cronies, global warming alarmists, charlatans, liars, scam artists, and feeders at the public trough. The threats to your happiness are many, but that's where we can help. News Talk 1130 WISN. Our truth shall keep you free.
A somber anniversary, the second anniversary of the October 7th terror attacks in Israel. What happened on that horrible day and where we are 2 years later, that is coming up in the next hour of the Dan O'Donnell Show. We'll also bring you the daily Trump date. The government may be shut down, but President Trump still welcoming Canadian Prime Minister Mark Harper. No, not Harper, to the White House. What is the Canadian Prime Minister's name? I'm totally having a brain fart on that. I got used to Justin Trudeau, and then, of course, he got Mark Carney. Thank you. I think it's Stephen Harper, Mark Carney, Justin Trudeau, Pierre Trudeau. Forgive me, folks. It's been a long day today, and as much as I do have encyclopedic knowledge of Canadian politics, or not, just a mini brain fart. Canada's Prime Minister welcomed to the White House. President Trump also talking about the possibility of layoffs in the near future. We will get to that coming up after the top of the hour news. Right now, though, it is time to name the unhinged liberal of the day.
Does that make me crazy?
Trump is Hitler.
We are in pre-Nazi Germany. Does that make me crazy? All white people are racist. Does that make me crazy?
Trump is dangerous because he's evil. America is over.
Today's unhinged liberal of the day is none other than Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker. Just a week after he freaked out at President Trump referring to Democrats as being the real fascists and saying this type of language has no place in American politics, he came out today and said, yeah, what Trump is doing is totally how the Nazis got started.
In the early days of the Nazi regime, they started slowly but surely taking away people's rights. And what we're seeing now is the very same thing. They've gone into cities now with the military. Think about that. In your lifetime, have you ever seen anything like that?
Yeah, actually, I have. And in fact, it is well within the law for the National Guard to provide security for law enforcement if local police refuse to, as in the stand down order that Chicago's police chief allegedly gave to his officers who were trying to protect ICE agents who came under attack in Pritzker's largest city. J.B. Pritzker, your unhinged liberal of the day. We are likely to dive into that. The Texas National Guard is now apparently providing material support to those ICE agents. It is true that the Posse Comitatus Act of the 1880s prohibits federal troops from policing America's streets. However, the whole reason we have a National Guard is that there can be a situation in which there there needs to be the support of the federal government and armed soldiers. And it is absolutely not a violation of either the Constitution's prohibition on federal governments taking over state autonomous authority or the Posse Comitatus Act for those federal troops to provide support and to provide security for federal or even state or local forces if they come under assault and the states or local municipalities are unable, or in this case, unwilling to protect them. Dan O'Donnell Show coming right back after the news.
All programs on News Talk 1130 WISN are broadcast through the NX Wealth Management Studios. NX Wealth Management. Know the difference. Listen to Sean Hannity, weekday evening 6 to 9 on News Talk 1130 WISN, Milwaukee. And make WISN the #1 preset on your car radio and on the new iHeart app. Free never sounded so good.
With news on WISN, I'm Raymond Newbert. Attorney General Josh Kaul says he will not be making a run for the governor's office. He instead will continue to run for the Attorney General's race in 2026. We're nearly a week into the government shutdown, and there is no movement in the Senate as the GOP has not moved any Democrats to vote on the budget. And police in Manitowoc are investigating vandalism to the city's memorial to the Red Arrow Division. Business news for the day. All of the major markets were down. The Dow Jones Industrial at 46,602. The S&P 500 at 6714. Checking the holiday automotive of Fond du Lac Sports scoreboard, it was the Brewers over the Cubs 7-3 yesterday. Game 3 of the division series is tomorrow. From the Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin News Center, I'm Raymond Newpert on Wisconsin's most listened to radio station, News Talk 1130 WISN.
Here's the latest forecast presented by AdventKnows.com from the Fox 6 weather experts.
Sunny and cooler today with temperatures in the middle 60s, dropping into the 40s tonight, although 30s and patchy frost will be possible far inland. More sunshine on Wednesday with a high around 60 and similar on Thursday. I'm Fox 6 meteorologist Stephanie Barrichello.
This report is sponsored by First Choice Heating and Cooling. Get the Cadillac of furnaces at Chevy prices. First Choice Heating offers modulating furnaces at variable speed pricing. Save up to $2,500. September only. Call First Choice. Comfort that pays for itself.
We all know the importance of good daily habits, whether it's getting your steps in, stretching those limbs, or eating right. Doing it on the regular is key. That's why if you're dealing with everyday aches and pain, it's time to bring Relief Factor into your routine. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor uses a special formula of 4 natural ingredients. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. In fact, the longer you take it, the more effective it is. So call 1-800-4-RELIEF and try their 3-week quick start for only $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Simply call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Wherever you're having pain, don't let it keep you from living the life you want. Make Relief Factor part of your daily routine. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
Restoring your home or business to its natural beauty is our only business. We are Wisconsin's most trusted carpet cleaner for over 75 years.
Edelman Carpet Furniture and Drapery Cleaning.
It's Edelman again. Edelman.
Hey guys, it's Ben, and I'm going to Europe, and I want you to come with me. Our great friends at Cruisin' Tour are offering my very first trip with listeners, and I couldn't be happier. We're going to be cruising the majestic Danube in August of 2026. We'll start by exploring Munich, Germany. We'll take in that city's rich history, and of course, we're going to visit some beer halls. From there, we'll cruise the Danube over to Vienna and Bratislava in Slovakia, and we'll end our voyage in Budapest, the capital of Hungary. The whole trip's going to be a perfect blend of culture, relaxation, and discovery on a magnificent river cruise. And Cruisin' Tour's done all the work already. I'm talking everything from a ride to the airport in Chicago to 22 meals on the ship, flights to and from, and of course, that unlimited platinum drinks package. Visit cruise-tour.com for complete details and to get a brochure for our trip. Give them a call, 800-383-3131, and you will see why I'm so excited. 800-383-3131, or find them online, cruise-tour.com, to reserve your spot today.
With gold at an all-time high, now is a smart time to turn your unwanted gold, silver, or diamonds into cash. And no one makes it easier than Robert Hack Diamonds. Those old-class rings, broken chains, dental gold, even coins, silver flatware, and tea sets could be worth more than you think. Robert Hack Diamonds will sit down with you, walk through each item, and make you a fair, no-pressure cash offer. Whether you're cleaning out a jewelry box or settling an estate, if in doubt, bring it in. They need your gold to create custom pieces for their customers. So this is a win-win. Stop by Robert Hack Diamonds and see what your forgotten items are really worth. They have a 64-plus year tradition of treating every single client with dignity, fairness, and professionalism. Gold is at an all-time high. The process is simple. The time to cash in is now. Robert Hack Diamonds, 146th and Greenfield Avenue in Brookfield and 76th and Layton in Greenfield.
Simplify keeps you safe, warm, and dry. For a free estimate, go to simplifyroofing.com.
For many of us, it feels like dark times. Politics are putrid. The culture is rancid. Proper values are nearly extinct. There's an overwhelming urge to block it all out, which is exactly the wrong thing to do. Instead, draw from a cauldron of faith, honor, and virtue, and find the courage to fight for what is right. The moment has never been more critical. Positive change starts with you. And we'll be right beside you. News Talk 1130 WISN.
Conservative thought, not just talk. It is the Dan O'Donnell Show. Welcome back to it. I do sincerely hope, folks, you have as much fun listening to this show as I have doing it. I was actually out to lunch with some very good friends today, and I was just talking about the fact somehow the topic came up. Oh, it was because one of my buddies was out at the Brewers game last night. Obviously, 8:08 first pitch. I had a couple of wonderful listeners. As I said, I was contemplating going to the game last night, but it was a little late. Shout out to Dave and Wendy, who immediately texted me and said, "Hey, we've got an extra ticket. We'd love to have you." I said, "It's a little late for me." Now, these are people who are on our Dan O'Donnell show cruises. And they said, "Dan, we know you stay out late." When we were in Norway together this past summer, yes, I may have howled at the moon. Even though we were so far north, the moon never really came out a couple of nights. And I said, you know what? It's just a little too late. And my friend was at the game. He said, "You didn't get back until 12:30, and it's just rough getting up the next morning." And that's why he says he really hates Sunday evenings. And it's because you've heard of this might be a total millennial thing. Have you heard of the Sunday scaries? Have you heard of that concept where you just feel unnerved? I used to get that. Oh, gosh, I used to get that at school constantly. I can remember back when I was in law school, I would typically come back to Milwaukee. I was going to school in Madison, and my then girlfriend, wonder what she's up to right now. I think she's actually picking up our daughter from school and getting her ready for soccer practice. My now wife, then girlfriend. Yeah, believe it or not, producer Eric, November 18th, we will mark, I can't even believe I'm saying this, a quarter century together, my beautiful wife and I. But I would have to go back. I would spend the whole weekend. I came back to Milwaukee to do a weekend sports talk radio show, and I would just get very anxious and sad, and I would have to go back. It would be like, man, I was like, I loved my friends up in Madison. I actually loved law school. I tolerated the lib professors, but I got the Sunday scaries. Now, honest to goodness, think Sunday night, I'm thinking about how I get excited because of all of the stuff that I'm going to talk about on tomorrow's show. All of the stuff that happened over the weekend, if there's, big news that broke, if there's some exclusive story I've been working on. Yes, believe it or not, I do work quite a bit on weekends, chasing down sources. And in fact, I've got a great story that I'm probably going to have to push to tomorrow because I'm waiting on some supporting documentation for it. Trust me when I say it's going to be a pretty big deal. But I don't get the Sunday scaries. And it's because I so genuinely, thoroughly enjoy what it is that I do for a living. I so thoroughly enjoy bringing you those exclusive stories. And, God, we were sort of talking about Charlie Kirk's assassination and that sort of stuff. And it just got me thinking about how important spreading the message of conservatism is, not just, for me doing a silly radio show, but for all you folks listening or watching on the Dano Cam and taking what I say and sort of spreading that information, spreading that gospel. If you not the God, that sounds really egotistic. Yes, the gospel of Dan. First commandments, thou shalt pound some PBR tall boys. Now, what I'm saying, the gospel of conservatism, you're now a follower. Producer Eric says he's a follower. He keeps the commandment of thou shalt pound thy tall boys very sacred. But I'm saying to in your circle, in your sphere of influence, to be able to spread that. I don't know. I had a really good time talking about that and thinking about that. It made me think of all of you folks. I don't know why I'm getting, what would the word be here? Not wistful, I guess. I'm getting sort of not emotional, but just kind of reflecting. It's been a really emotional month for all of us. 3 days from now marks a month since Charlie's assassination. Today marks 2 months since the October 7th terror attacks. I mean, it's a reminder that there is true evil in this world, and it means the world to me to be able to have this opportunity to come on for 3 hours a day and spread the word of what is good and what is honorable and what is, yes, sometimes silly, and we find the lighter side of the news, but it means the world to me. Even though now I've gotten like 15 texts saying, shut up about how much you love us and prove it to us by giving us a chance to win $1,000 in the Fall Fortune Cash Contest. We'll do that right now. The word this hour, credit, C-R-E-D-I-T, credit. You have got until 55 past the hour to go to our website and enter the keyword credit to enter the contest for this hour. Your entry is picked at random. You win $1,000. We have had three winners here on the Dan O'Donnell Show in just over a week. So 6 days we've been doing the contest. We are averaging a winner every other day on this little radio show. We didn't have a winner yesterday, so that means, folks, you are due. Go to our website, enter the keyword credit. Time now for your daily Trump Day.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning.
Trump just keeps winning.
It is a win for the administration.
It's also a big win for the United States.
We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
Even though the government is shut down for a sixth day, President Trump welcomed Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney to the White House today.
It's an honor to have the Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, who I have made very popular. He's an extremely popular Prime Minister, and I'm very honored to do it because I liked him right from the beginning. I've liked him, and we've had a good relationship.
That's actually a little bit of an inside joke. Carney was elected because he took such a strong stand against President Trump and his tariffs following Liberation Day. Carney, of course, was elected in the wake of the ouster of longtime Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. The two leaders did talk about trade policy and about renegotiating the USMCA, U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement, as well as the second anniversary of the Hamas-Israel war, the October 7th terror attacks, and Hamas appearing to at least signal that it was open to adopting President Trump's 20-point plan for peace.
We're in very serious negotiations to, I guess you could say, depending on the way you count, 3,000 years. You could say 500 years. You could say, but that it's been raging for a long time. And I think there's a possibility that we could have peace in the Middle East. It's something even beyond the Gaza situation. We want a release of the hostages immediately, etc. And so our team is over there now. Another team just left, and other countries, literally every country in the world has supported the plan.
Yep.
I don't think there's anybody that hasn't, actually, not that I've seen.
Now, of course, the key is to get Hamas to actually sign onto it, actually release the hostages. It's believed that there are about 20 who are still alive and still being held. Think about that. 2 years after that horrific attack. And, of course, Hamas needs to cede control of Gaza and go along with a whole lot of other restrictions, including essentially putting President Trump in control of a board that will oversee the governance of the Gaza Strip. So stay tuned for that as President Trump is attempting to broker what might be the most significant piece of all of the peace deals that he's negotiated in just the first couple of months of his second term. But we are in the middle of a government shutdown, and of course, President Trump was asked about that, whether or not layoffs would happen, and if they do, when they might start.
Well, I could tell you, I'll be able to tell you that in 4 or 5 days if this keeps going on. If this keeps going on, it'll be substantial, and a lot of those jobs will never come back. But you're gonna have a lot closer to a balanced budget, actually.
President Trump made a number of hints in that Oval Office tete-a-tete with reporters while the Canadian Prime Minister looked on about the possibility of using this shutdown to trim the waste, fraud, and abuse, he put it, in the federal government. In other words, using the shutdown to continue the work started by Elon Musk and Doge.
We have a lot, I'm not going to tell you, but we'll be announcing it pretty soon. But we have a lot of things that we're going to eliminate and permanently eliminate. You know, one of the things that we have is some advantage, you could say. But because of the shutdown, which I think they made a big mistake, we're able to take out billions and billions of dollars of waste, fraud, and abuse. And they've handed it, on a silver platter. And Russell Vogt, he's a serious person, very serious person. And he's sitting there and he's getting ready to cut things. And this is something that was handed to us by, I assume, Schumer. I just don't know if Schumer has any power anymore. I look at your leadership. I don't know who to speak to. I'll tell you what. I'm getting calls from Democrats wanting to meet. I never even heard their names before.
Say this about the man. He does have a way with words. That, ladies and gentlemen, is your Daily Trump Date. As we outlined yesterday on the show, this is a tremendous opportunity not just to trim some of those unnecessary, redundant positions, those positions that don't ally with the Trump administration's overall goals. It's also an opportunity to finally rid this country of the true albatross around the neck of the healthcare industry known as Obamacare. what Democrats have evolved their position into and why they are so desperate to keep this government shut down is that there are subsidies that are going to expire. This was a COVID era plan by President Biden and congressional Democrats back when they controlled everything in early 2021 to provide massive taxpayer funded subsidies to those who are on the Obamacare exchanges. The big problem, as even the Washington Post today acknowledged, is that the Affordable Care Act is not at all affordable. Health insurance premiums, deductibles, the cost of care, out-of-pocket costs, everything has skyrocketed because, as we established yesterday in a relatively lengthy segment at about this time, there is no competition in markets, and Obamacare made illegal some of the lower cost plans that were sold to younger people that would help to subsidize the care for elderly and the infirm, people who, in other words, would use health insurance more often. If you're 25 years old and you are shopping for a health insurance plan, are you going to want to pay a massive premium every single month? Are you going to want several $1,000s taken out of your paycheck? No, you're probably earning less. You're probably not able to afford the Cadillac insurance plan. So you're going to take the most threadbare coverage that's offered, and you're going to pay a higher deductible. You're going to pay out of pocket so that you don't have to pay nearly as much every single month. You're going to, in other words, only really go see a doctor once a year. If you have no chronic condition, if you're in pretty good health, and you're 25 years old, let's face it, there's no real need for you to have a Cadillac insurance plan. There's no need for you to go in other than, twice a year to get your teeth cleaned and checked out, once a year for an annual checkup, if you even do that. In fact, I think I skipped my annual checkup from age 25 to about 33 because I just didn't need to. I was in perfect health. Well, Obamacare came along and forced all of those plans out of existence. Forced those people onto the Obamacare exchanges where they were forced to pay way more money to get things covered that they didn't need covered at all. All of a sudden, those very low-cost plans, which were affordable for everybody, were just not something that insurance companies could sell anymore. And people were forced into the exchanges where they would have to get higher cost plans, thereby increasing the cost of everything. As I explained yesterday, the less cost. When government is footing the bill, as Obamacare has, there is no incentive for medical companies to compete on price because somebody is going to pay. It might not be you. And in fact, it's almost certainly not going to be you because you're covered by insurance. Your insurance company pays. And oh, guess what? If your insurance company is subsidized by the federal government, ultimately, the payer is everybody. It's taxpayers of the United States of America. When that happens, you can just significantly bump the cost of, say, MRIs, of, say, doctor's visits, of, say, specialty care, because somebody is going to pay it. Well, when that happens, of course, the cost for insurance goes ever higher to the point where we needed to have, or at least Democrats believed that we need to have, to sort of hide the true cost of Obamacare to the American people, we needed to have these massive subsidies that are going to expire on December 31st. So they're saying, like Chicken Little, the sky is going to fall. Never mind the fact that they were the ones who caused it to fall by passing Obamacare. They're saying, okay, President Trump, if he doesn't reopen the government and give in to our demands to have these subsidies for everybody, and oh, by the way, yes, we are going to repeal the portion of the one big beautiful bill that criminalized providing health care to illegals through Medicaid, something that absolutely has been happening, not just through emergency Medicaid, when illegal aliens go to use the emergency room at a hospital as their primary care facility, as has been happening for several decades now. The costs have been skyrocketing, and basically Democrats want those costs to be absorbed by the American people. They want continued subsidy. They want to make those temporary subsidies, which, remember, were supposed to be in effect for 5 years, from 2021 through the end of 2025. They want to make those permanent. They essentially want you to pay so that people don't realize just how terrible Obamacare was. We reflect on the second anniversary of the October 7th terror attacks, coming up next.
Classical conservatism, contemporary style. The Dan O'Donnell Show is coming right back.
From the place you want to go, Lynch McGuanago Traffic Center.
Southbound on 43, going to be heavy from Good Hope to Hampton Center to the Marquette. A half hour from Brown Deer on to 4394 southbound. Add another 10 to the Mitchell interchange with delays down to the KK River. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by First Choice Heating and Cooling. Get the Cadillac of furnaces at Chevy prices. First Choice Heating offers modulating furnaces at variable speed pricing. Save up to $2,500. September only. Call First Choice. Comfort that pays for itself.
Hey, it's Dan. Fall is here. Is your home ready for the change of seasons? At Bayview Shade and Blind, they've been helping Wisconsin get cozy in style since 1926. From energy-efficient shades that help keep the chill out to beautiful draperies and shutters that add comfort and charm, they'll help you embrace the season and elevate your space. Call Bayview Shade and Blind or visit one of their 3 local galleries to schedule your home upgrade before the holiday rush. Bayview Shade and Blind, sharing a little sunshine from their family to yours.
When starting a new home project, the first step is the hardest to take. Hi, Colleen here with Tri-County Contracting. And with Tri-County Contracting, the first step is super easy. Go to tricountycontractingwi.com. You can fill out a short form requesting a free estimate. Amanda will give you a call and schedule a no-pressure appointment with you. Whether it's roofing, siding, windows, or all of the above, we have you covered. If you are looking for an even faster roof price, we also have our instant roof quote button. Name, address, and email address, and you have your price on the spot. Easy first step. Then, all the steps after that, we'll take care of those for you. Getting you an easy-to-read, clear proposal quickly comes next. Then we can help you pick colors using our showroom or project map on our website. We pull the permits, we take care of materials and disposal. Our trained and specialized crews and project managers take care of all the install and cleanup. For you, it's as easy as one step, and that step is easy. Worry-free roofing, siding, and windows. Tri-County Contracting.
We use powerful truck-mounted carpet cleaning units designed to remove even the toughest dirt, and certified cleaning technicians who understand the definition of clean.
Edelman Carpet Furniture and Drapery Cleaning.
It's Edelman again. Edelman.
For more information about contests on News Talk 1130 WISN, go to newstalk1130.com/rules. Make News Talk 1130 WISN your #1 preset on our free iHeartRadio app, powered by Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
Injured?
Remember, one call, that's all.
WISN listeners are wise, enlightened, engaged, and have impeccably good taste. Thank you for making us Wisconsin's most listened to radio station. News Talk 1130 WISN.
You ready? Let's go.
It is the Dan O'Donnell Show on the second anniversary of the truly horrific October 7th terror attacks, codenamed Operation Al-Aqsa Flood by Hamas. These were coordinated incursions by about 3,000 terrorists from Gaza into the southern part of Israel. There were assaults by land, by sea, even by air. They targeted 21 civilian communities, military bases, as well as the Nova Music Festival, beginning around 6:30 a.m. local time with the barrage of as many as 5,000 rockets. Then there were ground infiltrations. By the time it was all over, about 1,200 innocent civilians, as well as IDF soldiers, police officers, were killed. 736 Israeli civilians were killed, including 38 children. 79 foreign nationals from the United States, as far away as Nepal and Thailand. Police officers, IDF soldiers, 379 of them were killed. There were also 14 additional civilian deaths from IDF's friendly fire. There were 5,431 people injured, primarily from gunfire, rocket shrapnel, grenades. Many of them were at the Nova Music Festival. 251 people were taken hostage. 223 civilians, 27 soldiers, military personnel were initially taken back to Gaza, about 200 of them by Hamas, the other 51 by the Islamic Jihad in the Palestinian territories. 40 women and children were released relatively quickly for humanitarian reasons, but the others were held for days, weeks, months. As of October 1st, the latest count, it is estimated that there are still, 2 years later, 48 hostages remaining in Gaza. Of those, roughly 20 are believed to still be alive. There was a deal in November of 2023, as well as a number of other subsequent deals that resulted in the release of 150 of those hostages. 8 of them were rescued by operations from the IDF. 75 were killed, either during the abduction or at some point in captivity. There have been 58 bodies that have been repatriated, and there are still upwards of about 17 to 18 bodies that are either still being held by Hamas or that are destroyed, unaccounted for. It was easily the worst terror attack in the history of Israel. It was the single worst slaughter of Jewish people since the Holocaust. It was an unequaled tragedy in the modern era. It was devastating. It was infuriating. But for far too many people across the United States and the world, it was a cause for celebration. In Times Square, the day after October 7th, I will never forget this, probably as long as I live. On October 8th, there was a rally organized by pro-Palestinian groups. Now, it was supposedly a rally in support of the Palestinian people against the Israeli response to the terror attack, but Israel was in mourning. It hadn't even contemplated a formal response just yet. And oh, by the way, that rally included such chants as "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free," which calls for the destruction of Israel. The land from the river to the sea is where Israel currently sits. "Resistance is justified," casting the terror attack as a form of resistance to an occupation, and "Globalize the Intifada." The Intifada being the uprising against Israel. Globalize it means attack more Jewish people. Protesters waved Palestinian flags. They chanted. They demanded an end to Israeli occupation in Gaza, which is remarkable since Israel has not been in control of Gaza since 2005, turning it over to the Palestinian people, who very quickly elected Hamas to run the thing. Even New York Governor Kathy Hochul called the demonstration repugnant, given the fact that Hamas had engaged in coordinated terror just 24 hours before. In subsequent days across the country, including here in Wisconsin, there were similar celebrations, and it would be impossible to term them anything else. Like at UW-Madison, just a couple of days after the October 7th terror attack, there was this chant.
Glory to the martyrs! Glory to the martyrs! Do you know what you say when we say, we will liberate the land? There you go. We will liberate the land by any means necessary. We will liberate the land! By any means necessary!
This was about 4 days after 1,200 innocent Jewish people were killed in a coordinated terror attack. And that was a rally on the campus of UW-Madison here in Wisconsin, led by people who supposedly stand up to fascism and evil and hate here in America, but were in full support of it. We will liberate the land by any means necessary. That means exactly what you think it means. And remember, Israel had not yet launched its counteroffensive. They were merely anticipating that it would. And they were standing in solidarity with the Palestinian people who had not been attacked, saying they're going to liberate the land, liberate the Palestinian territories, the entire land of Palestine, which, not so coincidentally, also contains the current state of Israel. By any means necessary, that is a justification of terror. There was also a rally the following day in Milwaukee. In case you couldn't hear that, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. That is an open, and I mean open, call for the destruction of Israel, all within the first couple of days of the worst terror attack in the history of Israel. All across America, from San Francisco to New York, and including here in Wisconsin, people, almost all of them on the political left, casting their lot not with justice and liberation, but with the cold-blooded mass murder of Jewish people. As if the October 7th terror attack couldn't be sickening enough, the fact that that sort of glorification and celebration of it was happening right here in our own backyard made it about the most nauseating thing in recent memory. And then to add insult to injury, over the next couple of years, as Israel worked to eradicate the terror organization who has the destruction of Israel as part of its founding charter, those same people were accusing Israel of committing war crimes and launching a genocide. We will get into that and debunk a 2-year-long blood libel when the Dan O'Donnell Show returns in just minutes.
Now, here's traffic from Tri-City National Bank, your hometown bank. Call the Tri-City Total Traffic Tip Line at 414-944-5111.
4145 southbound, 17 minutes Good Hope to the Zoo, slow Silver Spring to Capitol in Wisconsin on down. 43 southbound, a half hour, Brown Deer to the Marquette, crash on the ramp from Fond du Lac. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by Harwood Place Retirement Living in Wauwatosa, located in the heart of Wauwatosa. Harwood Place Retirement Living's newly renovated apartments and updated pricing are changing the face of how to live your golden years. To learn more or schedule a tour, visit harwoodplace.org.
For many of us, the most important part of our routine between 6 and 9 weekday mornings is to listen to every minute of the Jay Weber Show on WISN. Sadly, sometimes less important elements of our lives get in the way, such as work, children, and bathing. Don't despair. The Jay Weber Show podcast is available 24/7 to fill any gaps in your hunger for entertainment. Just go to newstalk1130.com, click the podcast tab, and enjoy Jay Weber on demand.
Hey, it's Vicki for Berna, the compact kinetic self-defense tool you've been hearing me talk about. We really love our police and we want more of them. But great as they are, there aren't enough of them to be there to stop the bad things from happening. So now more than ever, you need to practice self-defense. In fact, you are obligated to. Now, you know I'm a CCL holder and I carry, but there are places that say, sorry, Vicki, you can't protect yourself here with your CCW. And with crime absolutely out of hand, that is not going to fly. So I got a Berna compact launcher. It's not a gun, so you don't need a CCL to own it, use it, or conceal carry it. Berna is a kinetic self-defense tool that comes equipped with less lethal kinetic rounds designed to incapacitate an attacker so you have time to escape. It's easy to use, easy to carry, and easy to conceal. It's legal in all 50 states. You don't need a permit, and you can even take it on the road with you without worrying. Berna requires no background checks, and it's trusted by hundreds of police departments. So go to Berna.com today. That's BYRNA.com.
Five Corners is celebrating extra savings with Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram. Drive into fall event. Yes, we're announcing big fall savings and big dollars for your trade. Roll with a new Ram and get up to $15,000 off on select models or get 0% for 72 months. This is a savings home run. New Jeep Grand Cherokee is another big hit with big savings up to $7,000 off. New Chrysler Pacifica up to $8,000 off. Swing into Five Corners today and save. Need service? We deliver with outstanding service technicians and 40 service bays. Highway 60 Cedarburg. Financing is tool-proof credit and subject to down payment. Incentives are on select models.
With gold at an all-time high, now is a smart time to turn your unwanted gold, silver, or diamonds into cash. And no one makes it easier than Robert Hack Diamonds. Those old-class rings, broken chains, dental gold, even coins, silver flatware, and tea sets could be worth more than you think. Robert Hack Diamonds will sit down with you, walk through each item, and make you a fair, no-pressure cash offer. Whether you're cleaning out a jewelry box or settling an estate, if in doubt, bring it in. They need your gold to create custom pieces for their customers. So this is a win-win. Stop by Robert Hack Diamonds and see what your forgotten items are really worth. They have a 64-plus year tradition of treating every single client with dignity, fairness, and professionalism. Gold is at an all-time high. The process is simple. The time to cash in is now. Robert Hack Diamonds, 146th and Greenfield Avenue in Brookfield and 76th and Layton in Greenfield.
It's 5 words no one wants to hear. You need a new roof. Oh boy, who do you call? How are you going to pay for it? Hi, it's Jay, and these are all questions that run through people's minds when they hear those 5 words. But if you pick up the phone and call Semperfi Roofing, your new roof will be the easiest, most hassle-free home improvement project you'll do. Semperfi has thousands of 5-star ratings for both customer service and high-quality installation. Plus, they offer a 50-year leak-free guarantee on every roof they install. 50 years. Also, since no one wants to pay these high interest rates, for a limited time, Semperfi is offering 5-year no-interest financing with minimum monthly payments for qualified buyers. So if you need a new roof, don't stress. Semperfi Roofing has got your back. It all starts with a free 21-point roof inspection to assess the exact condition of your roof and what needs to be done next. Set up your inspection today. 262-600-2910. That's 600-2910. Or go online to semperfiroofing.com.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry. Semperfi.
Hey, Doc, nice office. Quick question. If you had to choose, would you give yourself a root canal or run payroll?
Run payroll, no question.
Seriously? Have you run payroll before?
Paying my team with Gusto couldn't be easier. Gusto gives me unlimited payroll runs, next-day direct deposits, and automatically files my taxes. Saves me time.
Wow, that's nice.
Over here, Doc. I want payroll too.
Choose payroll without the pain. Visit gusto.com/radio to sign up for free.
Injured? Call Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
It's Halloween season.
And the free iHeartRadio app has everything you need to make it a screaming good time. Like Halloween Radio,
where we ghosted the commercials.
Trick or Treat Radio, just for the kids. Plus, explore curated Halloween playlists perfect for party vibes and more. Just open the free iHeartRadio app, search Halloween, and listen now.
iHeartRadio.
Smart speakers get a whole lot smarter when they're playing News Talk 1130 WISN. Just ask Alexa or Siri to play WISN Radio and bask in the glow of insight and enlightenment.
Glory to the martyrs! Glory to the martyrs! Do you know what he's saying when we say, we will liberate the land? There you go. We will liberate the land by any means necessary. We will liberate the land!
That was just days after 1,200 Jewish people were killed in the single worst terror attack in the world since 9/11. Single worst slaughter of Jewish people since the Holocaust. And at America's top public university, the University of Wisconsin-Madison, seriously, that's what they are calling themselves, that was the chant days later. I don't think I have ever been more nauseated. And then when Israel dared to try to round up and stop those who used Gaza as a base for terror for decades, firing untold thousands of rockets into Israel since Hamas first took control of Gaza in 2007, those same people tried to suggest that what Israel was doing was not legitimate self-defense, but rather genocide. Genocide. Genocide is actually not just a term. It has a legal definition according to the 1948 UN Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, following the actual genocide of the Jewish people by Nazi Germany. There are several specific requirements in order for something to be classified as a genocide. There has to be one, specific intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group through killing members of the group, causing serious bodily or mental harm, deliberately inflicting conditions to bring about physical destruction, preventing births, or forcibly transferring children. Has there ever been an intent, stated, inferred, or otherwise, in the 2 years since October 7th by the IDF or the State of Israel to destroy the Palestinian people as a group? No. Their stated goal, and everything the Israeli military has done, has been to dismantle Hamas's military infrastructure and to prevent further attacks like the one 2 years ago today. The operations targeted Hamas operatives, launch sites for their rockets, their tunnel networks, not the Palestinian people as a whole. Do you know what one of the big challenges to targeting those military objectives, those military targets has been? Hamas places them in the middle of civilian areas. In other words, Hamas is intentionally trying to up the civilian death toll in order to bring more useful idiots like the ones chanting at UW-Madison days after the attack to its cause. Hamas has been doing this for as long as Hamas says, and the Islamic Jihad, the Palestinian Authority, before them, the PLA, Yasser Arafat, this was a standard tactic of terror, not just amongst the Palestinian people and their various groups, but across the Middle East. They put rocket launching technology in schools, in hospitals. They put their tunnels underneath hospitals. The point is that it's impossible to target the military installation without killing civilians. Israel has used precision strikes and has given warning after warning after warning to civilian populations to get out before their attacks start. Not only that, the October 7th terror attack was classified as a war crime. Human Rights Watch, the United Nations, they all declared this to be a war crime. Israel was able to invoke Article 51 of the UN Charter, the right to self-defense, in order to defend itself from an ongoing threat. Not to target the Palestinians as a racial or ethnic or religious group, to target the people who have put in their very founding document. The Hamas Charter of the late 1980s stated multiple times that its ultimate goal was the destruction of Israel and the death of the Zionists, aka the Jewish people. There has been a high civilian death toll. It's true. But not because Israel is intentionally trying to wipe out the Palestinian people, but because so many Hamas fighters and leaders conceal themselves and their weaponry amongst those civilians. Not only that, Israel has taken multiple steps to mitigate harm to civilians. They have allowed 1.2 million tons of food in humanitarian aid through Egypt as of earlier this year. Do you know what happens to those million tons of food that come? They get seized by Hamas and held hostage. How do you think Hamas raises money? Do you think they're getting a second job at Walmart when they're not blowing themselves up? They're ransoming the food to their own people. The humanitarian aid comes in through Egypt from Israel and the broader United States-led Western world, but it gets intercepted by Hamas and then sold at a tremendous markup to starving people in the Palestinian territories, especially Gaza. Not only that, Israel established temporary evacuation zones. They established safe corridors for civilians to move south during operations, which they would telegraph days, sometimes even weeks in advance. And how about this? There have been multiple ceasefire negotiations between Israel and the very people who slaughtered more than 1,000 of Israel's innocent civilians. Does that sound like, did Hitler ever engage in a ceasefire talk with the Jews of Europe? Or did he just try to wipe them out? Not only that, the International Court of Justice did rule after South Africa raised a case alleging genocide against Israel. The ICJ, International Court of Justice, ordered Israel to prevent genocidal acts, but it did not determine that a genocide was actually occurring. In other words, the International Court of Justice, which is very left-leaning and very sympathetic to the Palestinian cause, and actually took up this asinine case brought by the lefties down in South Africa, they actually determined, okay, Israel, you've got to prevent genocidal acts. Don't you think if there was actually evidence that there was a genocide occurring, maybe someone formally investigating it would have found something? How about this? an even farther radical left court, the International Criminal Court, you might remember last year, actually issued arrest warrants for Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, as well as the head of the IDF and several other top Israeli officials. You might think, well, damn, this proves it. This proves it, right? Genocide. Nope. War crimes. Specifically, they did not charge genocide. They also, by the way, issued arrest warrants. This did not get nearly the press that the arrest warrant for Bibi Netanyahu got. They did issue arrest warrants for Hamas leaders. In addition, the United Nations has not said that there is anything even remotely close to a genocide occurring in Gaza. For 2 years, Israel has fought as hard and as much as it could to prevent civilian casualties while trying to defend itself from an ongoing threat. That threat made itself very real 2 years ago today. I couldn't imagine being in a country where that threat is ever present and where I would have to raise my young children with the constant fear of being killed by a rocket attack or in an all-out assault like on October 7th. And then to have my government try to make the world safe for my children and me and be charged with genocide when there's no evidence whatsoever to suggest anything even remotely close is happening. But this sort of thing is happening. Fortunately, the world is blessed with a hard-nosed leader like Donald Trump, who is willing to sit down with Hamas and even talk tough to our longtime ally, Israel, and say, look, at some point, this war needs to end. Ukraine, the war needs to end. Russia, Israel, the war needs to end. Hamas can no longer be allowed to hold any position of authority, and the terrorism needs to end. But we have a plan for peace, a plan that the world has bought into, and hopefully a plan that can actually bring about that peace. You're listening to The Dan O'Donnell Show. We'll be back in just a bit.
From the Lynch Truck Center in Waterford, Total Traffic Center.
Little over 20 minutes, both sides at 94 between Moreland and the Marquette. 43 southbound is a half hour. Brown Deer to the Marquette. Got a crash on the ramp from Fond du Lac. Heavy delays 894 southbound between the Zoo and the Hale, 15 minutes. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest Total Traffic.
This report is sponsored by Grand Appliance. Shop the 95th anniversary sale at Grand Appliance for unbeatable prices and exclusive savings on top appliance brands like GE Cafe and more. Visit grandappliance.com or your local Grand showroom for complete details. That's Grand Appliance, appliance experts since 1930.
The only agent I trust here in Milwaukee is Justin Hoffman with RE/MAX Lakeside. Hey, your friend Sean Hannity here. When you listen to my show, you know I'm very cautious about the stock market, and I prefer bricks and mortar. I prefer real estate. I have the inside track on what's happening in Washington. So what does that mean for you? I'm pretty confident the best days of our economy will be ahead of us, and the real estate market is going to get busier and busier. Now, no matter the reason that you need to make your move, you need talent, you need tools to get your home sold and get on to your next chapter. If you're trying to sell your home and have been trying for months and you're tired of looking at the same for sale sign in your front yard, now is the time to make a friend in real estate that can help turn your challenge into a solution. Now, choose who I trust to create the most demand. Just go to wihomeeval.com. That's wihomeeval.com. Or just Google Team Hoffman and check out over 700 five-star reviews. And then make your move today.
What can Everlast Structures do for us?
The neighbors had Everlast build a hobby building for them. John said they designed the building so that their camper and boat will fit inside, and enough room inside that his wife has an office space incorporated into the design. They went with a climate control package and have heated concrete floors. There's even a bathroom in their building.
With all that extra space, we can finally get organized.
I'll give Everlast Structures a call right now.
Need more storage, a place for your hobbies, or a year-round climate-controlled utility building? We are Wisconsin's top post-frame builder with over 15 years of experience in the post-frame and residential construction industry. Our expertise lies in designing, supplying, and building your project seamlessly. We listen to our customers, understanding their goals and requirements while thinking about the future. Our post-frame structures are not only built for your current needs, but engineered for tomorrow's evolving demands. Everlast structures are designed to enhance, built to endure. Call today to start your dream build with Everlast Structures.
Welcome to This Week with Annex Wealth Management. Dan O'Donnell, joined by the CEO of Annex, Dave Spano, and the government shutdown is into its second week now, but markets, for the most part, are just sort of shrugging it off.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Dan. And for most cases, these shutdowns are just kabuki theater anyways, right? Since 1980, there's been 15 shutdowns, and during those 15 shutdowns, 70% of the time, stocks go up. And in fact, 1 year after the shutdown, Dan, the S&P is up an average of 15%. Why? Because the focus should not be in what the government is doing. It should be in finding businesses that make money. Take big tech as an example. They build better products. They help customers improve their experiences. And there's always a wall of worry, be it wars, oil prices, interest rates, inflation, tariffs. All of this stuff is always in front of us. That's the reason why we should build a portfolio together that goes through these situations, that is set up for the test of time. Find someone that's a fee-only fiduciary and build a risk-adjusted portfolio.
Hey, I know someone who's a fee-only fiduciary. That would be you and your great team at Annex Wealth Management. They're not trying to sell you a product. They are working with you and for you to set up your future and the future of your family, because let's face it, whether it's government shutdowns, whether it's situations across the world, all of this has a tendency to impact your bottom line on a day-to-day basis. Take the worry out of it and work with someone who truly has yours and your family's best interests at heart. I cannot recommend the folks at Annex highly enough. AnnexWealth.com is where you get started. AnnexWealth.com. For Dave Spano, CEO of Annex, I'm Dan O'Donnell. You've been listening to This Week with Annex Wealth Management.
Your home cleaning friend, it's Edelman again. Edelman.
There's only one store that gives you every possible choice in diamonds.
Welcome to Kessler's.
The Jay Weber Show podcast is available 24/7 to fill any gaps in your hunger for entertainment. Just go to newstalk1130.com, click the podcast tab, and enjoy Jay Weber on demand.
This is Wisconsin's most listened to radio station. News Talk 1130, WISN. All programs on News Talk 1130 WISN are broadcast through the Annex Wealth Management Studios. Annex Wealth Management. Know the difference. Listen to Benjamin Yount, weekday mornings 9 to 11 on News Talk 1130 WISN Milwaukee. And make WISN the #1 preset on your car radio and on the new iHeart app. Free never sounded so good.
Good afternoon. With news on WISN, I'm Raymond Newport. Wisconsin's Attorney General will not be making a race for the governor's office. Democrat Josh Kaul announced Tuesday he'll instead seek a third term as AG. It ends weeks of speculation whether or not he'll get in the race. As the federal government shutdown continues, Senator Tammy Baldwin says Democrats are not backing down in their demands. She says hundreds of thousands of Americans will be unable to keep their health care if they agree to the GOP budget deal. And state legislators are deciding whether or not they will allow the city of Milwaukee to install traffic cameras in the state of Wisconsin. They are generally illegal. Checking the Holiday Automotive of Fond du Lac Sports scoreboard, it was the Brewers over the Cubs yesterday, 7-3. Game 3 of the series is tomorrow. From the Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin News Center, I'm Raymond Newport on Wisconsin's most listened to radio station, News Talk 1130 WISN.
Here's the latest forecast presented by AdventKnows.com from the Fox 6 weather experts.
Clear and crisp tonight. Temperatures dropping through the 50s this evening and settling in the 40s overnight. Some frost is possible well northwest of Milwaukee. Abundant sunshine on Wednesday with a high of 59. I'm Fox 6 Chief Meteorologist Tom Walks.
This report is sponsored by First Choice Heating and Cooling. 0 payments, 0 interest for 18 months. First Choice Heating makes new HVAC affordable. No credit hassles, no minimums on select equipment. Call First Choice now. Your comfort can't wait. First Choice Heating and Cooling.
Bob here from Industry Revolutionizing Redefined Realty. There's no way an antique Milwaukee Badger ale beer bottle would have sold for $21,000 without auction. Only Redefined Realty combines MLS with auction. MLS gets your home found, and just like that beer bottle, auction compels buyers to compete in a bidding war. Buyers see the actual high bid, then outbid each other over and over and over. Redefined Realty's home sellers love standing on the sideline, watching returns on investment increasing. It's cool and fun. Selling your home with total price transparency guarantees you leave closing a winner with the maximum profit possible. Redefined Realty allows buyers to compete with or without an agent. Redefine's winning real estate combo, MLS plus auction, is the only marketing strategy that allows buyers and sellers to both win. Just like the buyers of your home, you're going to love meeting a winner at closing. Visit redefinerealty.com for a free comparable market analysis today and let yourself win. Buyers win, sellers win, let yourself win. Real estate for winners, redefinerealty.com.
I'm Central Office Systems Chris Rozecki, congratulating Art on his retirement and introducing my new business partner, Thomas Rozecki.
Thomas here. For nearly a decade, my management and technology consulting career clients span manufacturing, professional services, education, from upper mid-market to Fortune 500 financial service providers.
Central Office Systems provides Thomas's enterprise experience no in-house IT employee can provide as your competitive advantage.
Small to mid-sized businesses can afford Fortune 500 expertise, designing, upgrading, developing, and maintaining your company's IT infrastructure.
Central Office implements world-class hardware, software, data access, and data security, and then provides world-class 24/7 North American-based technology support for your entire organization.
Implementing technology diligence is basically an insurance policy, preventing the panic and loss of having to make business operations, outage, data loss, or even property loss insurance claims.
Keeping your IT, phones, email, software, data, hardware, and property safe, secure, and working.
Converting IT risk and liability into assets. CentralOfficeSystems.com.
We all know the importance of good daily habits, whether it's getting your steps in, stretching those limbs, or eating right. Doing it on the regular is key. That's why if you're dealing with everyday aches and pain, it's time to bring Relief Factor into your routine. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor uses a special formula of 4 natural ingredients. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. In fact, the longer you take it, the more effective it is. So call 1-800-4-RELIEF and try their 3-week quick start for only $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Simply call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Wherever you're having pain, don't let it keep you from living the life you want. Make Relief Factor part of your daily routine. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
From the road to the roof, S&K will fix your plumbing problems 24/7.
Kaul Investment Group, now Creative Planning, is a registered investment advisor. Now for your business report from Creative Planning. For informational purposes only, past performance is not indicative of future results.
Good afternoon. This is Anthony Priester with your closing business report. The major averages fell today, pulled down by a drop in Oracle shares as investors worry about the profitability of the artificial intelligence rollout. The software company is generating much lighter margins on its cloud business than analysts currently estimated. Meanwhile, shares of Figma jumped over 5%. Adding to the software vendor 7% gain in the previous session after OpenAI CEO introduced Figma's integration into ChatGPT, which will allow ChatGPT users to have Figma run tasks from within their conversations. At the close, the Dow was down 91 points, the S&P 500 was down 25 points, the NASDAQ was down 153 points. From the Kaul Investment Group, now Creative Planning, I'm Anthony Priester.
Big day in Wisconsin politics as Josh Kaul, Wisconsin's Attorney General, declines to run for governor. It was widely expected that he was going to do so. That opens the door for my man, Mandeadbeat. Former Lieutenant Governor and U.S. Senate candidate Mandela Barnes is now said to be just days away from announcing that he is jumping into the crowded field of candidates. Meanwhile, Wisconsin Congressman Tom Tiffany on the Republican side not only has a commanding lead in the first poll, a Badger Battleground survey that was released on Sunday, he also has a massive fundraising haul, raising more than $1 million in just the first couple of days after announcing his run a week and a half ago. Welcome back to the final hour of the Dan O'Donnell Show. If you would like to join us, 414-799-1130 is our adventknows.com talk and text line. You can also reach us toll free, 1-800-838-9476. Email me, dod@iheartmedia.com, at Dan O'Donnell Show on X, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. We are streaming live on all of them. Follow us, smash that like button, as the kids say, and be sure to subscribe to the Dan O'Donnell Show on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to podcasts. Coming up in just a second, we will talk to an appellate court judicial candidate who is apparently so terrifying that he scared a long-term Lib incumbent right out of the race. You might know her name, too. We will get into that. But first, nationwide keyword this hour in the Fall Fortune Cash Contest is Bills. B-I-L-L-S, Bills. You have got until 55 past the hour to go to our website and enter the keyword Bills to enter the contest for this hour. If your entry is picked at random, you will win $1,000 in cash instantly. We have already had a couple of winners on the Dan O'Donnell Show, including two on our flagship station, News Talk 1130 WISN, and one on our great affiliate in Madison, News Talk 1310 WIB. Well, it was something of a surprise that long-term liberal appellate court judge Lisa Neubauer announced that she is not going to seek re-election, which is a surprise because Neubauer was so well regarded in the liberal judicial community that she was actually the candidate they handpicked in 2019 to run for state Supreme Court. Now she is retiring. The candidate, a staunch conservative who is running for her seat and now, for the time being anyway, running unopposed for 2nd District Court of Appeals, is Anthony Lococo, who joins us now. Anthony, way to go, I guess. Are you really that scary a guy that you forced Neubauer right out of this race?
Thanks for having me on, Dan. I wish somebody would tell that to my 4 kids. They might eat their vegetables. But, I think the news of Judge Neubauer deciding not to run is really a reflection of the fact that voters in this district are upset. They're upset with the direction of the judiciary in Wisconsin. They're upset. They're seeing judges who are obstructing ICE agents. They're seeing, the most liberal Wisconsin Supreme Court in state history. And they're sick of officials, not just in the political branches, but even in our judiciary, who won't say what a woman is, who, won't acknowledge God or Jesus Christ, who, all kinds of things, are not doing their jobs to uphold the law. And so we were able to build so much incredible momentum from conservatives across the district that I think Judge Neubauer saw the writing on the wall and decided she'd go into early retirement. So this is a huge victory, not for me, but for all the voters of this state in the district who want to see a change on the court.
Now, today you also announced the endorsement of pretty much every other judge on this court. Conservatives, this is a District 2 Court of Appeals. Shelley Grogan, Mark Gundrum and Maria Lazar, who is currently running for United States Supreme Court. You have the chance to make this the most conservative court of appeals in the state, if it isn't already, now that Lisa Neubauer is going to be gone.
That's right. So for your listeners who may not be aware, and I'll acknowledge, the Court of Appeals is probably the least understood of our three-level judiciary.
Actually, it is. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Its job is to make sure the trial court judges are doing their jobs. And if you get a bad decision in the trial court, you can take it up to our Court of Appeals. And to some of your listeners, that might sound like the Wisconsin Supreme Court, but here's the key difference. Wisconsin Supreme Court hears very few cases every year, just 14 a couple terms ago. Our Court of Appeals hears everything else. Thousands and thousands of cases affecting our families and businesses. So absolutely critical that we put proven defenders of our constitutional rights and our families in these seats. And as you were saying, Dan, it's 16 judges divided into 4 districts. And I'm running for District 2, which is the 12-county area that sort of encircles Milwaukee. It doesn't include it. It's the Wow counties, Kenosha, Racine, up to Manitowoc, Sheboygan. And it is really the most conservative Court of Appeals district in the state, but we have to keep it that way. And for some reason, Judge Lisa Neubauer, a liberal judge, has managed to evade removal from her seat. And we've been able to do that now.
Yeah, and congratulations to you on doing so. She was always something of an outlier. The courts of appeals are known as error-correcting courts in Wisconsin jurisprudence, but because there are so many cases that go before them, you can make the argument that obviously the state Supreme Court as the court of last resort is the most important court in the state, but you can make a very compelling case, Anthony, that the Court of Appeals election, I know you're going to say this because you're running for Court of Appeals, is every bit as important because, as you said, the relatively few number of cases that ever actually get up to the Supreme Court means that for all intents and purposes, the court of last resort is very often the Court of Appeals in this state.
Exactly. And, that Court of Appeals, it is just pumping out decisions every day on every subject that you can think of. And unfortunately, and perhaps understandably, many of the residents of the state do not follow that court. But as you say, it's become more important than ever. Our Supreme Court used to decide hundreds of cases a term. It is down to historically low levels. And, I'm not minimizing the importance of the Supreme Court by any means. The cases that they do take have huge ramifications for our state. But if you have business in a Wisconsin court, odds are it's going to be the Court of Appeals that is the last word in your case if you take it up on appeal. So again, it just couldn't be more important that we get judges in those 16 Court of Appeals seats that are going to do their job to uphold the law, defend our families, defend our constitutional rights, and speak the truth courageously. Not every day we get a chance to flip a seat from liberal to conservative. This is one of those chances, and things are going very well.
Yeah, they certainly are. I think you obviously have got to be considered a prohibitive favorite just because Neubauer was able to, I think, skate by on just being the incumbent, and there weren't particularly well-funded candidates whoever were challenging her. And it's sort of a thing in the judicial community, unfortunately, the legal community in this state, and I suspect across the country, that if it's not a race for a Supreme Court, a lot of these judges, oftentimes at the circuit court level, run unopposed. You will probably have no such luxury. You are anticipating that the left will throw up some opponent for you, right?
I'm sure they're holding auditions as we speak. You can speak more than I can, Dan, to who would be sitting in the judge's chair listening to their tryouts. But yeah, they'll throw somebody out there. But look, this is a conservative district. We have conservative judges because it's a conservative district. And the people that conservatives in this district respect, like former Governor Scott Walker, Justice Rebecca Bradley, as you mentioned, the 3 judges on District 2, like Grogan, Maria Lazar, and Gundrum, and then great, amazing law enforcement groups like Milwaukee Police Association, Waukesha County Chiefs Association, they've all endorsed my candidacy for the Court of Appeals. So whoever they may throw up there is not going to get a lot of support in the district. They're going to have to look elsewhere.
Now, just to get this out of the way, by the way, we're talking with Anthony Lococo. He is the conservative candidate for District 2 Court of Appeals, announcing a couple of endorsements today and also yesterday. Was it yesterday or over the weekend? Lisa Neubauer announced that she is not going to seek another term. She, of course, ran for Supreme Court in 2019. She's the mother of the Democrats' leader in the state assembly, Greta Neubauer. She's very, very connected in Democrat Party politics. She has been just for decades a liberal jurist, and now she's not running for re-election. Just to get this out of the way, Anthony, because if and when you do get an opponent, I can already see the primary source of attack is this guy's not a judge. He hasn't been a judge. What qualifies you to be an appellate court judge?
Well, thank you for asking. You know, I started my career at the Wisconsin Supreme Court, clerking for 2 years for Chief Justice Annette Ziegler. But then I moved very quickly to the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, which many of your listeners might know. And I fought for years for free speech, religious liberty, election integrity, parents' rights, against the COVID shutdowns, against DEI, in defense of our businesses. You know, so many of these stories that you've reported on your show, from crazy gender policies in Madison to the Racine voter van, I fought those suits on the front lines.
Yep.
So I think voters are going to realize that I am someone who understands the importance of our constitutional rights, understands the importance of our families. They're going to look at some of these judges who, you know, haven't been doing all that great of a job. And, you know, we've seen in District 2, voters are very willing to put non-judges on the bench. And I'm very confident that they're going to see through any lines of attack along those lines.
Now, that's fair. And you were the attorney in that Racine case for Will. In fact, I believe that's how I first got to know you. I do have to say I'm withholding my support now because you did not refer to it by its proper name, and that is the Scooby-Doo mystery voting machine down in Racine that Mayor Corey Mason would roll around. Yeah, you do have extensive experience, sir. Every time I think about that stupid thing, it's like, how did they possibly think that that was lawful? For those unfamiliar, the mayor of Racine, and then he would have it follow. He would have the van where you could vote, follow him around to his various campaign stops. Like,
maybe takes the case for most absurd litigation.
Out of 2020 and all the insane things. I mean, Madison with fraud in the park was pretty bad, where they just had a bunch of dudes with duffel bags show up to take your ballots. The fact that the mayor, while he was running for re-election, would have a van follow him around, where if you like what you heard at the local George Webb's from Mayor Corey Mason, you could just hop in his van. I don't know if he was giving away candy or he would like promise voters toys, but you had to get in the back of his Scooby-Doo mystery voting machine and you could cast your ballot right there for the guy. It's the most unlawful thing I've ever seen. In all seriousness, though, so what you're saying and the message I think you're taking to voters is, look, I have fought for constitutional governance my entire career with IRG, with Will. I've dedicated my career to this, and I've litigated in front of appellate courts my whole career, and now I'm just moving to the other side of the bench.
That's right. You know, right now I'm no longer at Will or IRG. I run one of the only all appellate firms in the state. So I certainly know how to do the job. And, you know, exactly, we're moving to the other side. I'm going to rule impartially, of course, but in a way that upholds our constitutional rights, defends our families. And as I say, we have too many judges who run as conservatives, but once they get on the bench, do not speak the truth, do not rule courageously, don't vote to hear the hard cases, and don't rule in a way that will protect our communities. So again, you know, if they take that line of attack, I don't think it's going to work out very well for them.
No, I don't think so. Speaking of which, we were talking with listeners last week after Maria Lazar, who would have been your colleague on the District 2 Court of Appeals and has endorsed you, but is running for Wisconsin Supreme Court. And I have been just sort of exhorting her to, in her campaign, to really take the fight to the left. Obviously, you are bound by the Code of Judicial Conduct, which prohibits you from saying how you would rule on a specific case that could come before you as an appellate court judge. But when you do get an opponent, do you plan on taking that fight to them in a way that we haven't seen in recent Supreme Court races?
Absolutely. Listen, I mean, look, I think a lot of people are uncomfortable with the system we have here in Wisconsin. But as they say in one of the Godfather movies, this is the business we've chosen. We choose to elect our judges, and judges have to be able to campaign. Of course, you know, there are ethical restrictions, would never do anything to violate those. But beyond that, we have to be able to talk to voters, talk to them about the things that they care about, that they are hearing. And absolutely, if that means getting a little bit aggressive, I've got no qualms whatsoever about that.
Excellent. He is Anthony Lococo. He is running for District 2 Court of Appeals. If you would like to learn more about his campaign, you can find it at lococoforjudge.com, LOCOCO for FOR judge.com. Anthony, is always a pleasure talking with you. Congratulations on forcing Judge Neubauer out of this race. Best of luck to you. I'm sure we'll be talking throughout this campaign.
Thanks so much, Dan.
It is the Dan O'Donnell Show. Conservative thought, not just talk. We'll be right back to it in just 3 minutes.
From the Lynch Buick GMC of West Bend Total Traffic Center.
Southbound 43 is a half hour. Brown Deer to the Marquette Jam from Good Hope to Hampton, then Burleigh on in. On to 94 westbound, another 20 out to Moreland. Delays get better after Hawley. Slowing again, 84th to Elm Grove. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest Total Traffic.
This report is sponsored by Grand Appliance. Shop the 95th anniversary sale at Grand Appliance for unbeatable prices and exclusive savings on top appliance brands like GE Cafe and more. Visit grandappliance.com or your local Grand showroom for complete details. That's Grand Appliance, appliance experts since 1930.
Save on Makita tools during the Makita Fall Sale event at Nye Hardware. Get a free 5-amp battery with 18-volt 2-piece drill and impact driver kit for $399.99. Or get a free chainsaw via e-rebate with a 40-volt blower kit purchase, a $479.99 value. Don't miss out on these deals and more through October 17th. Factory reps on site October 9th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Nye's Makita Sale Event. Nye's, Highways 4145 at Q in Menominee Falls. NEUShardware.com for details.
The Census Bureau says more than 12,000 Americans turn 65 each day. It's a surge they call Peak 65, the highest number in history. Some Annex clients retire early. Some keep working because they love it. You know why? Because they've got custom plans built by fee-only fiduciaries. They identified their wants and needs, and we went to work. We want to do the same for you. Annex does financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Visit AnnexWealth.com and click the Get Started button.
A Generac automatic standby generator that kicks right in when your power goes out is great peace of mind. Get a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator from the #1 Generac dealer, Generator Supercenter. Go to GeneratorSupercenterofLakeCountry.com.
Imagine your home totally organized. At Closets by Design, we specialize in providing affordable, custom-built storage solutions with built-ins and beyond. From walk-in closets to entertainment centers, our experienced designers work within your budget to design a solution fit perfectly to your needs. Get 40% off plus an additional 15% with 18-month financing. Visit closetsbydesign.com or call 1-800-BY-DESIGN to get started. Let's get organized together.
Hey, Dan O'Donnell for Mander Collision and Glass, now with 7 locations to serve you across the greater Milwaukee area. Start your repair right now at mandercollision.com. Mander truly is the best decision after a collision.
Make News Talk 1130 WISN your #1 preset on our free iHeartRadio app. Powered by Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
Injured?
Remember, one call, that's all.
Offering one of the strongest lineups of talk show hosts in the history of local radio. This is Wisconsin's most listened to radio station. News Talk 1130 WISN. to the Dan O'Donnell Show.
Our thanks once again to Anthony Lococo for joining us. You need strong judges at every level of the court system, from the circuit courts here in Wisconsin all the way up to the state Supreme Court. That's why it is so utterly unnerving that we have gotten shellacked as conservatives in the last 3 state Supreme Court races by double digits in each one. You want to know why we need strong appellate court judges? Because guess who just appealed Waukesha County Circuit Court Judge Michael Maxwell's ruling from late last week. We actually broke this story. The Milwaukee Journal said we broke this on Friday afternoon. Journal Sentinel didn't actually get a report on it until yesterday. So if you want the news 3 days before the newspaper of record in this state, tune into the Dan O'Donnell Show each and every day. Judge Michael Maxwell ruled that WEC, the Wisconsin Elections Commission, need to start verifying citizenship of all 3.6 million registered voters in this state by comparing the voter registration list to records obtained from the Department of Transportation. In other words, you need to make sure that the people who are registered to vote and eligible to vote in this state are actually eligible to vote, passing the most basic qualification, being a citizen of this country and a citizen of this state. You would think that this is pretty elemental. Like if you're an elections commission and you're charged with administering elections in a state, that it would fall to you to validate the citizenship of the people who participate in elections in that state. Well, guess who stepped in, waving his hands frantically, saying, no, 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 no. Josh Kaul, the attorney general who just couldn't get enough support to run for governor, requested a pause of the order, a stay, pending his eventual appeal. Kaul argues that the order would, quote, require a massive overhaul of Wisconsin's voter registration system, end quote. To which I reply, yes, it would. And yes, that would be good. Voters, including longtime good government and honest election advocate Artis Cerny, who is really invaluable in the fight against corrupt elections in this state, argued that WEC has been violating state and federal law by allowing people who aren't citizens onto its voter rolls. Judge Maxwell agreed, stating that WEC was, quote, failing in the most basic task of ensuring that only lawful voters are on the rolls. Kaul wants to appeal. Where would that go if the Supreme Court doesn't take a direct appeal from it? And this is the sort of case, folks. Fortunately, now that we have a liberal majority, a 4-3 liberal majority that could very easily be 5-2 after next April's election, they don't take a lot of cases because they're remarkably lazy. But it would go to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, or Second District Court of Appeals, excuse me. Circuit is in the federal level. We have Circuit Court as our lowest level in the Wisconsin state court system. The district courts are the Courts of Appeals District 2. So if that case is going to be heard by a judge, it's going to be heard by, hopefully, Anthony Lococo or the very, very strong, very good judge Shelley Grogan or Maria Lazar or Mark Gundrum. I mean, this is a very conservative court. The problem is that eventually, if the Supreme Court takes up the case, it would inevitably, I think, overturn Maxwell's ruling, even though we read a good part of it on Friday's show. It is undoubtedly correct. Wisconsin state law could not possibly be clearer. It is the role of the administrative body. If you are administering elections, you have an affirmative duty to provide that only the people who are registered to vote and actually able to vote in the elections pass all of the qualifications of state law and the state constitution. We have 3 basic requirements for being able to vote in the state of Wisconsin. 1, you need to be 18 years old. 2, you need to be a citizen of the United States. 3, you need to be a citizen of the state of Wisconsin. That's it. If WEC can't guarantee that, if WEC doesn't think that it's its job to ensure that only people who meet those 3 very basic qualifications are able to vote, then truly what is WEC doing? Why do we even have a Wisconsin Elections Commission? And this would be worth investigating. Why is it that Wisconsin's Attorney General, ahead of an all-important gubernatorial election, ahead of an all-important Attorney General election, which he announced today he is going to be running in, why would he not want the governing body in charge of administering elections guaranteeing that only United States and Wisconsin citizens are voting in the upcoming Wisconsin elections? It really does make you think what exactly Democrats really say when they say what they really mean when they say they want good, clean elections and they want everybody voting. What if I told you that our elections in 2022 and 2024 weren't fair, weren't good, weren't clean, and it wasn't because of fraud, it was because of the United States Census? We will get into that. It is a fascinating, and I mean fascinating, story. You won't want to miss this. It's the Dan O'Donnell Show.
Now, here's traffic from Tri-City National Bank, your hometown bank. Call the Tri-City Total Traffic Tip Line at 414-944-5111.
Crash in Racine County at Adams and Highway 83. Another with injuries at Capitol and Grand Tosa. Southbound on 43, a little over a half hour. Brown Deer to the Marquette. 4145 southbound Good Hope to the Zoo at 20 minutes. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest Total Traffic.
This report is sponsored by Rapid Radios.
Stay connected when it matters most. Be prepared with Rapid Radio's walkie-talkies. With instant push-to-talk and LTE nationwide coverage, you can reach family and friends in any emergency. 100% private, no contracts, no hassle.
Stay safe. Order now at rapidradios.com.
You got to get to Built Right today. Dan O'Donnell here for my amazing friends at Built Right Furniture. They have their own way of doing things. They're open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and on Sunday, they're closed to be with family. Built Right buys lunch for their entire team every Saturday, and they make it possible for their entire team to be off at the same time each year for a spring, summer, and winter break. Those were among the reasons that the 97-year-old locally and family-owned store was selected as the Home Furnishings Retailer of the Year. HFA's CEO said of the Built Right family, they do things for their team and they do things to respond to their customers. They know what works best and they've stuck with it. Randy Kay, 4th generation, said it's our hard work, passion, and dedication. So get to Built Right today and save during their 97th anniversary celebration and $1 million clearance sell-off. Tell them Dan sent you to Built Right, 54th and Layton in Greenfield.
Water running back to your foundation due to settling concrete can lead to extremely expensive foundation repairs. Even mold and bacteria in your home.
MudTech, 262-337-0934.
Puts existing concrete back to grade, keeping water away from your foundation for a fraction of patio or driveway replacement cost.
MudTech, 262-337-0934.
For a free estimate today.
MudTech, 262-337-0934.
Permanently fixes asphalt with state-of-the-art technology. Uneven sagging stairs and walkways are easily evened out for less than you are guessing with M to the U to the D to the T to the E to the the C to the H.
262-337-0934.
The cost of having southeastern Wisconsin's premier concrete releveling and asphalt repair technicians at MudTech.
262-337-0934.
Restore your paved surfaces today is a fraction of the cost of replacement tomorrow. Call right now.
262-337-0934.
MudTechWorks.com.
I'm attorney Tom Grieve, here to tell you about Grieve Civil Law. Life is unpredictable, but you can help your loved ones navigate dark days by preparing for the future now. Powers of attorney, wills, and trusts are all components to a robust estate plan that ensures your wishes are fulfilled. Do you think your estate is simple or should be executed using common sense? In many cases, the law cannot take into account how complicated families are. If you or your heirs are divorced, or if your heirs get divorced in the future, your assets may not go where you intend. Many people say that they will get a will, but they never get around to it. Their loved ones often pay for their lack of planning in the time and stress of probate, not to mention court fees. On top of their grief, they'll wrestle with red tape and resentment. Don't gamble your life's work. Don't gamble with your family's future. Protect your loved ones from legal battles. It's more than just a document, it's peace of mind. Contact Grieve Civil Law today, because tomorrow isn't guaranteed. GrieveCivilLaw.com.
When it comes to spine care, you need more than just treatment. You need specialized expertise from a team that understands the complexities of the spine. At the Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin Spine Center in Pewaukee, our specialists provide the highest level of care for conditions ranging from herniated discs, spinal stenosis, and degenerative disc disease to scoliosis and spinal fusion. We believe in a patient-first approach, starting with the most conservative non-surgical treatments whenever possible. Physical therapy, pain management, and injections are often the first steps in helping patients regain mobility and reduce discomfort. If surgery becomes necessary, our minimally invasive procedures are designed to reduce downtime and promote a faster recovery. Our comprehensive approach focuses on treating the source of the problem, whether it's chronic pain or a sudden injury. We'll help you regain function and get back to the life you love with less pain and more movement. Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin Spine Center in Pewaukee. There is a difference. Visit oawspinecenter.com.
You're what?
Making Thanksgiving dinner. Why so early? So I can serve a big family meal on the Flay table from Penny Mustard.
Oh, I love the Flay table.
Melt butter and add peanut butter.
The strong Midwest craftsmanship ensures family feasts for generations.
Mix in strained beets and mayonnaise.
What recipe are you making?
Recipe? What's a recipe?
The Flay table, paired with 4 Kendall chairs, with your choice of fabric or leather, starting at $68.71 at Penny Mustard.
Showrooms in Milwaukee and Chicago.
PennyMustard.com.
Injured? Call Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
On the new season of the podcast Heavyweight,
I pointed the gun at him and said, "This isn't a joke."
A man who robbed a bank when he was 14 years old, and a centenarian rediscovers a love lost 80 years ago.
How can a 101-year-old woman fall in love again?
Listen to Heavyweight on America's #1 podcast network, iHeart. Follow Heavyweight and start listening on the free iHeartRadio app today.
Show summaries, podcasts, political tidbits, and the hottest photo galleries in radio. All available to you whenever you demand them at newstalk1130.com. Conservative thought, not just talk. You're listening to The Dan O'Donnell Show.
A listener wanted to know via the adventknows.com talk and text line when judges are appointed versus when they're elected. And I thought, you know what, that's a great question, because I bet you a lot of people are wondering. Generally speaking, all federal judges serve for life, and they are appointed by the president. They do not ever run for re-election. They serve until they retire or they die. Hence why you have a judge in Milwaukee who is currently overseeing the Hannah Dugan case, who is about 175 years old. He has been serving since the Taft administration. Circuit Court of Appeals judges, United States Supreme Court judges, they all serve for life. they get to choose when, and the reason for this is that the framers of the Constitution, believe it or not, the Constitution itself did not actually set up the federal judiciary, nor did it say how many Supreme Court. It just said that the judicial power in the United States is vested in a Supreme Court. The Constitution never actually established what that court would do. It wasn't until a case in 1803 called Marbury versus Madison, where the court determined that the role of the court was to interpret the Constitution and the laws of the United States, setting up the federal standard of judicial review that has been mimicked by the states as well. States are free to set up their own judiciaries however they want. I believe most of them, don't quote me on this, most of them have appointed judges. Here in Wisconsin, we don't. When our state was founded in 1848, our Constitution provided that we would have elected judges, and the Supreme Court justices will serve for a term of 10 years. And the idea there was that you didn't want these permanent campaigns where every 4 years a Supreme Court judge would have to run for re-election. The thinking was that only once or maybe twice in a judge's life, in a justice's life, would they ever run for re-election. So you also have appellate court judges and circuit court judges that have to run for election. Now, if one dies or retires midway through the term, then the governor gets to appoint a replacement. The replacement then serves until that term is up, where they would have to run for a full term. So I do hope that helps. Senator Jim Banks of Indiana sent a letter to Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick urging him to, quote, investigate and correct errors from the 2020 census that, quote, handed disproportionate political power to Democrats and illegal aliens. The Census Bureau adopted a new and opaque methodology called differential privacy that by design scrambles the population of states and voting districts. As prepared by the Biden administration, the 2020 census reports miscounted the population of 14 states, wrongly allocating 6 congressional seats and electoral college votes to the Democrat Party. The reports may have also misconstrued the population in a number of voting districts, and the reports definitely included illegal aliens without tracking those aliens' citizenship status. If left uncorrected, these errors will continue diluting the political power of American citizens. Now, you might have noticed something that he wrote in there, and that was that this was under the Biden administration. That is not technically true. Reapportionment happened during the Biden administration in 2021. Every 10 years, I didn't realize the 5 o'clock hour was going to be such a civics lesson, but hey, it's AP government with Mr. O'Donnell in 7th period here. The census is required by the Constitution and federal law. Every 10 years, at the start of every decade, there is a census. The census takes 1 year. Then, in the odd-numbered year following that census, the data is interpreted, the count is completed, and then there is reapportionment based on where populations have moved, where more people have been born, maybe more people have died. There is always going to be a set number of congressmen and women. 435 members of the United States House of Representatives, no more, no less. 100 senators, those don't matter. Every state gets 2. But in Congress, in the House, those numbers can change per state. If, say, California gains population, as it has for pretty much its entire history, it'll get more congressional representation. Getting as many as 50 58, I believe, was the number it maxed out at following the 2010 census. 58 congressional representatives, as well as 2 senators. Almost amazing. Over the past couple of census counts, however, some of those bigger states have been losing population. What Senator Banks is saying is that the Biden administration, when it took office in early 2021 and was responsible, sometimes that happens. There's a presidential election and a new president takes power at the start of a decade. The census might have been administered under one president, but it's actually counted up and used for reapportionment under another. That's what happened in 2021. The Biden administration uses this new formula known as differential privacy. What is that? According to Banks, it is opaque and liable to mistaken count totals. Sure enough, the 2020 census overcounted the population in 8 states and undercounted it in 6. The most extreme undercount was Arkansas at 5.04%. They undercounted the population of Arkansas by 5%. That's hundreds of thousands of people. And the largest overcount was Hawaii at 6.79%. As a result of these errors, Democrats gained at least 6 net congressional seats and electoral college votes. As problematic as the 2020 census was for apportionment, it may have been disastrous for redistricting. Differential privacy alters the total population of individual voting districts, meaning that any voting district drawn since 2020's census may in fact have been based on false data and may even have been unlawful. The worst part is that we don't know how many voting districts are problematic. A file containing the original unaltered census data exists, but only a few bureaucrats have access to it. It is crucial that the Census Bureau republishes the 2020 census data using the raw data so that states have a clearer picture of their voting districts. The Census Bureau must also use a methodology for the 2030 census that accurately counts state and voting district populations and that does not disproportionately benefit one political party. That from Senator Jim Banks of Indiana. That's actually rather remarkable. Differential privacy. It injects, this according to Banks, noise into individual voting district called blocks for census purposes. Differential privacy achieves this by randomly changing some correct demographic data into false demographic data in order to make it impossible to guess individual residents' identities within a census block. Bureaucrats have been architecting differential policy or privacy for over 20 years, and the Biden administration used the methodology when interpreting and publishing the data from the 2020 census. In other words, what this was an attempt to change this resulted in basically what happened is there was a dramatic undercount in southern states and a dramatic overcount in the Northeast. Because of A, privacy concerns, and B, issues related to COVID-19 and filling out the census, I still don't understand. You do it over the internet. They were like, the census taker is not coming. Remember I said, what was it? A census taker asked me a bunch of questions. I ate his liver with fava beans and a nice Chianti. Silence of the Lambs. No, that doesn't happen anymore. It's online, although they do have people in the field, the census takers, to try to get the people who are reluctant. Well, Black and Hispanic populations were less likely to do this in COVID. So because there weren't the access that the census takers had to people's homes because of COVID-19, they sort of had to guess. Then you add this, what Senator Banks is saying, differential privacy. to try to make it so that you can't tell who an individual person is, because you're answering, if the bureaucrats have access to your personal data, you're answering, some personal questions about where you live and all of that. And you do have a right to privacy of your data. So they would sort of randomize and randomly change some of the demographic data to make it untrue. And what Banks is saying is that in the process of doing this, they used a formula where we don't know exactly what they did, but magically, red states are undercounted. Their minority populations are dramatically undercounted, whereas minority populations in blue states are magically overcounted. He is saying there needs to be a full audit of the 2020 census. These errors need to be corrected. He's not saying we need to redistrict mid-decade ahead of the 2026 midterms, but this is very probably an issue. And in fact, there are some people who believe if the 2020 census was run correctly, then President Trump would have been able to win the presidency without winning Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, or Michigan. That he could have just picked up Georgia and Arizona and he would have won. Could you imagine if flawed census, let's just say Kamala won all three of those states. Trump swept every swing state, so it was moot. It wasn't, as Kamala has been saying, because she wants to run again in 2028, the closest election this century, which is insane. She expects us not to remember 2000, where there was a Supreme Court decision. Could you imagine if, because of bad census data and a bad methodology employed by the Biden administration to count it, Kamala Harris won those three states, won the presidency 270 to 268, and President Trump was denied his bid to return to the White House because instead of fudging the mail-in ballots, they fudged the census? That would have been a true constitutional crisis. Thankfully, it's been averted. I second Senator Banks's demands that this be corrected before 2030 at the latest.
From the Lynch GM Superstore in Burlington Total Traffic Center.
Just shy of 15 minutes, 894 southbound between the Zoo and the Hale, slowing most of the way, and a vehicle fire reported at Greenfield. 794 eastbound past the Marquette interchange, you got a crash off to the right shoulder. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest Total Traffic.
This report is sponsored by First Choice Heating and Cooling. 0 payments, 0 interest for 18 months. First Choice Heating makes new HVAC affordable. No credit hassles, no minimums on select equipment. Call First Choice now. Your comfort can't wait. First Choice Heating and Cooling.
Whether you're on a commercial job site or tackling residential projects, support yourself and your crew with the AFS Advantage. AFS Advanced Fastening Supply is locally owned with a complete inventory of all the major brands of tools, fasteners, and safety equipment to make sure your job is done right and on time for all your projects throughout the year. Experience the AFS Advantage today. Advanced Fastening Supply on Doral Road in Waukesha or advancedfasteningsupply.com.
You've got your whole life ahead of you, so choose a Medicare plan you can count on. If you're living with a chronic condition like diabetes, chronic heart failure, or a cardiovascular disorder, you might count on extra support with your health care too. That's why United Healthcare offers chronic special needs plans with extra benefits and a large provider network to choose from. Visit uhc.com/Medicare to find out if you qualify today. United Healthcare Medicare plans. It's Medicare coverage Wisconsin can count on. Provider network may vary in local market.
Hi, I'm Willa Voss. I'm 8 years old. Mom and Dad own Cut and Go Tree Service. Yes, they did name me after a tree. Our family loves this country and the freedom it provides. Every morning, I look forward to starting the school day with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please say it along with me, even if you just say it in your mind. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. American patriots will enjoy a 5% discount for flying the American flag and mentioning this commercial when the Cut and Go remote control, automobile mounted, articulated crane, Grandpa saw operators are putting your dead trees on the ground or removing large branches that grew over something important. An all-American Tons of Trees movement. CutandGoTrees.com. That's CUTNGOTREES.com.
There's still time to save big on your landscaping project at Menards. Create stunning patios and strong retaining walls with our huge in-stock selection of concrete blocks ready to take home today. Plus, get free estimates fast with our easy-to-use design and buy program in-store or on Menards.com. Don't miss out. Check out our weekly flyer and start saving on landscape blocks now at Menards.
Save big money at Menards. It's By the Yard Showroom Refresh Sale. 3 days only, October 9th through the 11th. Each showroom is packed with hundreds of pieces, 20 to 35% off. The quality, the look, the not having to store are By the Yard. And let me tell you, By the Yard Adirondacks, the perfect chair for those fall bonfires. Be the first to pick from the biggest selection and bring home maintenance-free furniture that's built to last. Visit By the Yard in Economowalk. With By the Yard, life is better outdoors.
I'm Victor Harding, a true trial attorney at Warshevsky Law. You've heard our advertising for years. While it's been effective introducing Warshevsky to injured people in need of maximum judgments and settlements, most of our clients come from personal referral. Referrals from former clients grateful for the settlement or trial judgment Warshevsky won on their behalf. Thus, they're recommending us to friends and family. Referrals from people in the community, including other lawyers and judges who want to make sure their friends and family are taken care of. Still not sure? Ask around. Warshevsky is referred by Wisconsin law enforcement officers who've seen Warshevsky attorneys in action, desperate to make sure friends and family receive just compensation. Insurance adjusters, often our adversaries, refer their family members hurt in accidents. They know the work we do. They all refer Warshevsky because big case or small, we can help. If someone you love is injured, please let them know, because at the end of their ordeal, their injury is about the money. Warshevsky.com.
Simplify keeps you safe, warm, and dry. For a free estimate, go to simplifyroofing.com.
iHeartRadio is the easy-to-use app for music and radio. Download the free iHeartRadio app today.
The talk shows on WISN Radio. Not for the faint of heart and not for the feeble of mind. News Talk 1130 WISN. Fact is, until you've heard us, you haven't heard the whole story.
ESPN reporting today that the Bucks in the offseason engaged the New York Knicks in trade discussions for Giannis, with Giannis reportedly not totally happy with the direction of this franchise. ESPN's report indicates that while Giannis's future is far from settled, the trade talks with the Knicks never advanced beyond the initial stages because the Knicks just didn't offer a good enough package for Antetokounmpo. It was always believed that if the Bucks were ever going to move on from their franchise cornerstone, I think, outside of, is it really arguable anymore? I mean, Kareem was always considered the best player in franchise history, but his prime was mostly with the Lakers. Oscar Robertson, I think Giannis, I mean, just by the eyeball test, a two-time MVP, NBA champion, a guy who has won MVP and Defensive Player of the Year in the same season, played his entire career with the Bucks. I don't think it's arguable at this point, best player in franchise history, but that the Bucks would want just a king's ransom, 4 or 5 first-round picks, maybe a player or two to balance out salary as best they possibly could. But this is interesting because the Bucks are again retooling the roster, bringing in Miles Turner, cutting ties with Damian Lillard, who of course is missing the entire season with that bad injury he suffered in the playoffs. He's now back with the Portland Trail Blazers. And this is going to be something I don't think the Bucks are able to quite shake. What is Giannis's future going to look like this season and beyond? Out of time. Back tomorrow with another edition of the Dan O'Donnell Show.